Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughing him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
This is an excerpt on February 28, 2020, 7:44 p.m. How does the FBI find people? And people's misspelled P-E-O-O-P-L-E. Did the defendant find out how the FBI finds people in this case? Oh, she found out.
What more did you see? Because he's the guy.
Whoa, that's trippy. That's trippy. Fortunately, it's also not live. That's live. Let me fix my camera. We'll get the camera fixed, but slowly. Let's see, GoPro. There we go. Little sponsorship. No, I wish. Wish they sponsored it. There we go. All right, that's a little bit better. All right. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict. Thank you very much for joining me this morning.
When are we going to break for lunch?
I'm sorry for being a little bit late. I was. We have this cool case today, as you saw from the thumbnail. We have this cool case. It's out of Thurston County, Washington. Yes, the same place where we've had the Sovsit, not Sovsit, but Mr. Frog. Yes, that voice, Mr. Frog. Same place. I don't know. There is something in the water up there. We get some amazing cases out of there. But
I'm not a cat.
I was doing a little research. I'm debating whether or not I show you the jury selection that happened yesterday, or we just jump to trial, because we've got a lot of trial footage. It's not the best footage. It's all one angle, and you sort of have to imagine what some of the displays are. But it's a fun little case, because we've got a bicyclist, not a bicyclist, a bike rider, like motorcyclist, who got caught speeding. Apparently, I don't know, double the speed limit, something like that. Okay, going fast. He got caught by a police airplane. And he's fighting in a court with what? A public defender. Okay, so he's trusting his fate to the hands of the public defender, and this guy is good. And it's like all young kids in court. I don't know why. Everyone seems really young. But before we go much further, there's a few things we have to do. First of all, I have to turn on the text messages. We can do that. Let's see. I'm pretty sure somebody won the internet. That's not it. Where's my?
Is that correct? When are we going to break for lunch, Judge?
Okay. Watched this yesterday. Rewatch Party with Friends. Yeah, Breezy. You watched this on out of Thurston. Oh man, it's so good. It's not done yet. The jury's still deliberating right now. It has not been determined. So this is straight from the headlines.
How does he do that?
Let's see. We need to celebrate. We need to celebrate Miss Violet. Miss Violet, congratulations being first in chat. I think this is the first time offense for you. I saw you reaching out in chat to some of the previous winners and asking just how things work and where all the wires go. You'll figure it out. Everyone always does. We have all the faith in you, but you being first in chat does send it to you to internet ownership, and you have to maintain it worldwide, which you should be able to do from wherever you're watching right now. That's what everyone else has done. So congratulations on that, Miss Violet. It's always great to have a new winner in first in chat, and that today was you. I apologize. I'm on Rob time. Let's see. Sends Ari a giant bug for chat. Thank you. Let's see. We've got a couple other things. We have some birthdays. Coming up.
Have them send someone with more experience.
All right, it was late. Yes, it was late. I'm sorry. It was for good reason. Let's see. Andrew S., it's my birthday tomorrow, Saturday. We're going to sing to you because if it's your birthday tomorrow, we're not planning on doing anything live tomorrow because it's the holiday season. Let's see, Andrew. Let's see.
Alex stole it as well.
Other we're going to put on here. I'm going to wait till next week on that one, I think. Let's see. Any more birthdays? You got the notification and no RA. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Let's see. KH in South Carolina.
Consent to that name.
Let's see. So, Kay, thank you very much, by the way. Kay sent us an amazing
Is that
knitted
correct?
blanket. It was just incredible. KH, NSC. Don Bruce, happy birthday, Don. Sorry, I'm trying to type and doing a poor job of it right now. Just 1 second. I stayed up till like 1 o'clock in the morning recording this because I was afraid that they were going to disappear, as Thurston County often just deletes their videos as soon as they're done posting them, which is not how YouTube works, Thurston County. Let me just remind you, if you delete your videos right after you post it, it does no good. Nobody can watch it. That being said, I have to admit that our video from yesterday got hit with a copyright claim from some company out of Europe, and they claimed the whole thing, and it's very difficult to fight this one, and so I had to take it down. I apologize. The last day of that trial that we followed is down for that reason, but it's a little frustrating. Let's see. Dawn, we have Southern Gal. Keyboard just does not want to work today. Southern Gal.
There's a lawsuit.
Kira. Yeah, there's a lawsuit. Rudy Patooty's dog. Rudy Patooty, does the dog have a name?
When are
it's
we
easier
gonna break for
to
lunch,
sing to
Judge?
something if we've got a name. And first of Gail Pet, last but not last month is Claire. So we got Claire as well. I'm not sure what Gail is. Can somebody help me with the breakdown on this? Because what I've got is Andrew, KH in South Carolina, Don Bruce, Southern Gal, Kira, and Gail. Is that right? And Claire. Sorry, Claire. Katie did, says today's my birthday. Okay, Katie did. Happy birthday. Christy, it's my birthday tomorrow too. Christy, we'll put you on there. It's going to be it's another big birthday day. I can see it already. Have a Merry Christmas, a nice break next week. Thank you very much, Jamie Laterno. I appreciate that. Christy says, me. We got you on the list. We're going to sing to everybody here. Let's see. Churro. Oh man, we're definitely into 2 verses already. Churro's birthday tomorrow. We have moved on to a new case. It's going to be a 1-day case. Hopefully, it's got a verdict. We're singing to Rudy tomorrow, or Rudy, which is Rudy Patooty's pet.
When are we going to break for lunch, Judge?
Hey, easy on that. Moxie.
Bring the jury.
There's the buffer sound, which means I'm missing a lot of things. Gail Pett had a birthday.
I was kicked back, taking it easy.
Okay, so Gail. All right. So I have listen for your name right here, very very carefully. We've got Andrew, Kay, Dawn, Southern Gal, Kira, Gail, Claire, Katie did, Christy, Churro, Rudy, and Moxie. Is that everybody? Let me add Jen on here. If we missed her yesterday, I apologize. Okay. Chris King says, I give up. Chris, are you on there as well? Did we miss Chris? Let's see if we have Chris. What about Jesus' birthday, since we probably won't be here? Well, I believe when it comes to Christianity, we actually, what is it? We celebrate it on Christmas, but it's, isn't it, like if you ask the scholars, wasn't it like in April or something like that?
Are we going to address subject matter jurisdiction?
It would almost be his unbirthday. My son Paxton is on Christmas. Okay. Paxton. And I know over that same celebration, we've got one more person. I'll just add them to this as well. All right, let's sing. Here's what we're going to do. I've got to go back and change the music, so we're going to have to pause because there's no way. This would be like 10 verses if we didn't. So we're going to do pause on this. And we're going to do it rap style in the middle. We're just going to pause and sing all the names, and then we're going to continue. So, because this is a huge birthday day, I think we've got, let's see, Mr. Debbie. We've got Debbie as well. The longer I wait, the longer the list gets. I just have to start singing, and we've got to cut it off at some point. One verse. We're going to do one verse, and then we're going to. Big breath and go. Yes, there it is. Okay. Everybody warm up. Roll back your shoulders. Deep breath.
Is that correct?
Yes, it's correct. Cuddle up to your neighbors. Make sure you blend your voices this time. Remember your parts, just like we practiced, okay? Here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Andrew K.H. in South Carolina, Don, Bruce, Southern Gal, Kira, Gail, Claire, Katie did, Christy, Churro, Rhodey, Moxie, Jen, Paxton, KQD, and Debbie. Happy birthday to you. That was not good, I admit. I mean, I know when things are good and when things are not good, and that was not the best. But considering how much happy birthday, Capricorn. Happy birthday, Capricorn. Let's see, anybody else? Everybody should feel sung to. This was probably one of our second largest, maybe even our largest birthday sing-along.
Scratch all that. Oh, that was terrible. I apologize.
For all those who are celebrating birthday today, or around today, nailed it, says Becky. Nailed it. First try. For all those who are celebrating birthday today, happy birthday. Today's a wonderful day to celebrate. I'm glad we can celebrate with you. The fact that you're here instead of out at Denny's getting free pancakes, that just warms my heart. It really does. It warms my heart. Kim R. sent you a super chat. Let me pull that up. Kim R. says, Merry Christmas, RA Mods and Chat Friday. No copyright strikes for Christmas. So glad to be here. Yes, we got one yesterday. Not a strike, just a claim, but still a little frustrating. Because so many people were watching it. I started getting text messages saying, hey, I was in the middle of watching that and you took it down. I'm like, well, it wasn't me. But yeah. Thank you, Kim. Appreciate the super chat, Kim R. We're going to kick things off with style. Let me give you the background of this case. First of all, let me turn down the happy birthday music. How did it end, Southern Gal? How did it end? I don't know, because that was yesterday, and I have the memory of a goldfish. What was our trial yesterday? Can anyone remember? I slept through most of it. I know this. You guys caught me. Let's see. Who can refresh my memory as to what we did yesterday? I kid you not. I've got a brain part that I cannot think of it. Let's see. Dallas-born, Boston-bred. No, I need to let that play out because it's flashing. That'll drive me nuts. Dallas-born, Boston-bred. Happy New Year, everyone. Yes, that's coming very soon. Christmas first, then New Year. What part did they claim? Just the whole day, from when we started the video to the end. It wasn't music. It's some little company out of Europe that used it on some podcast episode 206 or something. And I realize that it's often these claims are frivolous and just a pain in the butt. But when it's out of Europe, it's just a weird setup in YouTube for me, and it's difficult to fight because I guess I have to fight it using their laws instead of my laws, which are It was not a strike. It was just a claim. But the claim was, we claim it so you can't use it. And it's which is sort of like a strike, but they basically claimed the whole video from the last day of court, all closing arguments on. We just had to take down that last day, and I don't know why. It often happens. We often get claims like that on verdict day, but usually the claim allows it to stay up. This one did not. And usually I'm good with it. It's like, look, it's a hassle. It does take the revenue from it, which is frustrating. But it's easier than fighting it. I missed Peter Steele's birthday. I am so sorry. Good AWA. Peter Steele, happy birthday. Happy birthday. Consider yourself sung to. It was a wonderful. It was the Uber sentencing. Yes, guilty on all charges. Fake Uber driver. It was a rough night, man. Let's see. So yeah, frustrating. I have reached out to YouTube every way I can to address this issue, and it's a pain. It's a pain in the patootie. But there are companies that can file claims on things, and it's very difficult to fight. It's like the person who files the claim gets the assumption of that they're in the right, and I have to fight my way back to being able to use it. And it's not fun. It often involves giving away a lot of personal information and setting myself up for a lawsuit, which if somebody wants to do, I guess they could. But it's crazy. All right. That said, we are going to. It's a little selfish.
There's a lawsuit.
It's absurd a little bit when you've got. Yeah. Anyway, we won't go on a rant there because we're going to be positive for the weekend. It does not take super chats and sub money. It just takes all the ad revenue, which just it is the bigger part of the revenue for my channel.
I'm not a camel,
but it just takes it for that day. So it's just frustrating. But here we go. Let me tell you about this trial because this is going to be a fun one. We are up in Thurston County, Washington. We've got a motorcycle rider who was out riding, doing his thing, which I guess we could probably pull in Weather Watch and ask him, what it's like to ride a motorcycle. And sometimes you give the throttle a little twist and, the bike jumps and you're like, zoom, So he was doing that.
Send someone with more experience.
Little did he know that Debbie, you're right. Court TV has the playlist. Law and Crime has the playlist. Several other news channels have the playlist. But they didn't get hit. Just me. So anyway, I missed your member milestone. No, Hank. Where is it? Right here. Been here since the manhunt. Hello, Hank. Thank you very much. 3 months. I appreciate that. Sorry I missed that when it first went through. Sometimes my screen updates really fast and it just zips by, and sometimes I just go blind. Anyway, so we're up in Thurston County, Washington. This is where we have this Zoom court. This is, if you remember, this is the one where we've got the view back and we can see the jury when they're being selected. Unfortunately, we don't have good mics for that. So we do have the video of jury selection, but it's not really good. So we're gonna skip jury selection and just take my word for it that a jury was selected and they're seated off screen. But the funny thing about this is this guy is fighting this traffic ticket.
I was kicked back, taking it easy.
He's fighting a traffic ticket that was, sort of. The origination of the ticket is from the aircraft that tracks the speeding. They have a little plane. It's actually in the picture I showed like a little Learjet, but it's a Cessna 182, and it's just cruising along, above them. And they have a video camera, and they inside the plane they have an alternate reality sort of setup. So the dude's got his like Meta 3 glasses on and his little controllers, and he's controlling the camera, and he's looking down.
Break for lunch, Judge.
He's looking down on the road. And the thing, it sort of like gets his bearings. It's like, okay, you can start tracking now. And so he clicks the screen. It starts tracking. It's like, okay, now stop tracking now. And he clicks the screen again. And then inside the machine, it works its magic and says, this is how fast the car was going, based on how fast things were moving past the camera and altitude and plane speed and a million other things. It's a little bit like magic, a little bit like science. Mostly science, a little bit magic. And And so they do this video, and they catch this guy going like double the speed limit, passing cars, zoom, 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 and so they send ground units to catch him. They catch him like at a gas station, and they like full on like tackle him off his bike, right? Tip his bike over into the pump and everything, and he's just a little bit mad about this. And so he's fighting it in court, and he's fighting it with the public defender. He's like, I'm going to take this to court. Your Honor, I can't afford a lawyer. Give me one. And so we have this young public defender lawyer who's pretty good. He's great with objections. We probably should do an objection count because there's going to be a lot of them in this trial. And the first thing he does, which happened in a motion before the jury was selected, was he says, Your Honor, and this was yesterday, he says, Your Honor, I just got a video today, late disclosure from the state. Like, I got it this week on Monday. They just barely handed me a video and said, by the way, here's the video of your client speeding down the road with the superimposed the speed that he was traveling on it. And he says, this is late disclosure. And it's not allowed in. And the judge agrees. And the video gets thrown out. So now the state is like trying to prosecute this dude for speeding, but their star piece of evidence is not allowed in. So the video is out, and that'll come up a couple times because they'll mention it during the trial, and you're going to hear the word mistrial come up. It's going to be a lot of fun. So Thurston County is really good. This judge is super patient. Sunday is Brandy Churchill's birthday. I knew it was this weekend for some reason, but it didn't click this morning. Brandy, have a happy birthday. That is. I know it's not the happiest of birthdays right now, but I'm wishing you the best on your birthday, Brandy. Hope the very best for you. Speed monitored by aircraft signs up. Yes, this is what we're talking about, Melissa. And so we're going to learn a lot about what this means, because you're like, how does the aircraft monitor the speed? Well, that's going to come up in this trial. We're going to find out a little bit about how it works. We're going to get to hear from the police officers that operated the cameras, that operated the plane, that sort of make this all happen and communicate with the ground units as well. Good AWA says, Merry Christmas to you and your fam, Scott, the magnificent mods, and to all of this great community. I've celebrated 3 months membership. Woohoo! Thank you very much. Wonderful. Let me get court started, because we have a few hours of court to go through, and it's I apologize for it not being the best video. The audio is okay-ish, meaning it's livable. Let's see, where are we at on this drive over here? And all the while we're doing this, just note that we're still waiting for the verdict. The jury slept on this one, and so when they come back this morning here in an hour or two, they might have a verdict. So we'll have to grab that as soon as it happens. Let's see. Ginger and Pookie says, the manhunt. I've watched JLR and Nick the Hat talk about some issues with the info from the manhunt. People have lots of questions, and Nick the Hat is trying to get answers. I've seen that. He's doing some great investigative digging on that to see what's up and why information that came out was blatantly wrong at sometimes. I don't know. I haven't done enough digging to know if there's like some deep conspiracy level thing going on, but it seems at the least there's some serious misinformation that gets passed around from official channels. All right, let's see. An update on the guy that left for lunch and never came back. That is Mr. Farag. That was in this court with this judge, I'll have you know, and we don't get to see the judge on this one, but it did happen. Trust me. Let me do a quick check on Mr. Farag. No, that's not it. Corrections, Thurston County. Is this it? Why is it not pulling up? Search for someone. Did they change their... Okay, search for someone. Fender, Washington, whose name is last name Frog. I'm not a robot. Search. This is the wrong screen. The search just changed, like, completely.
Squirrel!
Inmate roster. Here we go. Inmate roster. Oh, there it is. I found it. Sorry. Mr. Farag is still not in custody. I'm sorry for that. All right. Diana Beatson. Merry Christmas to RA and fam and all in chat. Thank you very much, Diana. Have a Merry Christmas to you and yours as well. And make sure you give your pup there a little pet from us if that's still available. We have trial right here. Let me get here. I was getting distracted, you guys. This is fun stuff, but let's get back to court. Let me pull this up on. Okay, there we go. Camera 3. Boost the audio and take camera 3. Okay, this courtroom looks a lot familiar, right? This is we live here now.
Good morning, Your Honor.
All right, so I heard there was some kind of a preliminary issue.
Just briefly, Your Honor, and honestly, I think I can address it. Your Honor, I spoke with both Mr. Holcomb and Mr. Gasling. I want to make sure that the jury doesn't know me. That they don't know me personally, since I'm sitting at counsel table. If the court were so inclined, I would just ask that I'm allowed to introduce myself. I'm not representing the state in this matter, just to ensure on the record that I'm here. And
sure.
Okay, thank you.
There's no problem with you explaining your role in this.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, it's fine.
I'm happy to do that, Your
Yeah,
Honor.
just I don't think that's problematic. It prevents any speculation. So, yeah, you can do that.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think it would just make the record clearer and cleaner.
Okay, so the woman who was just speaking, she is there sort of like as a mentor to the young prosecutor, who was the guy who just walked in front of the table and then moved out of the way. The gentleman on the far right, he's going to be our defendant. He's our defendant today. He's the motorcycle rider. And we're waiting for the attorney to show up, and we might have to skip through a little bit because there's a little bit of pauses here. But Merry Christmas, everyone. Thank you, Britta Aller. Appreciate the Christmas wishes. Appreciate that. I heard that in like little Timmy's voice for some reason when I read this. Appreciate the super chat. Thank you so much, Britta. You've been a long-time supporter of the channel. Appreciate your presence here. Wouldn't be the same without you. All right, so let's see. Let's zip ahead just a tiny bit. Please tell me it lets me do this. Can I not just skip ahead? Yeah, we can. Here we go. Look at this. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Now I can't even see if people are moving. Are they alive? Okay. Christy G, member for 5 months. Love it here. Thank you, Christy. It's wonderful to have you here. Frida B as well. Happy Friday, everyone. 8 months from Frida B. Congratulations. Okay, so there's our defense attorney right there. This guy's a firecracker. He's really good. He's really quick with the objections. Obviously, he looks like he's fresh out of law school, but he's a public defender, and he's done a good job. He's managed to keep this airplane video of his client committing a crime out of court, which is a win already for him. I mean, that's a huge, huge win, and we'll see if he's able to keep his client out of jail. Next big case, Picky, the next really big one might be Sarah Boone in January.
So I
only intend to use this just to show that he was the driver. That's the only reason. Do you guys plan to contest that he was the driver? This is the only reason, because
I don't think that that's necessary if the trooper's identifying him. It's got a lot of his own personal information on it.
Yeah, that's why.
You can handle this in the middle of trial. It can be done in the middle of trial.
Okay.
His handler's like,
mark it. If you don't use it, it won't be in the record.
you can do this in court. You don't have to. You have to do this right now. We can do this in the middle of the trial. I think it's a blown up picture of his driver's license, is what he's trying to admit. So she says, get it marked with the court clerk, and then if you're not able to use it, it's fine. But Moxie loved hearing us sing. Thank you, Lat Cal Girl. That's awesome. According to Woo, 7 months support says Hubs bought me a gavel to put on my desk as an early Christmas present. This is going to be fun. My gavel's right here. I've got.
That podium blocking you or your client's view?
No, I moved it this morning.
Okay.
Thank you.
This podium gets moved around a lot, and the defense attorney is not shy about moving it. It's really funny. At one point, he's going to take the podium and stick the prosecutor in the corner, and the prosecutor's like, okay, thank you. It's going to be good.
Okay, you have your witnesses here, Mr. Holcomb?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ready to start?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Gasling, you ready to start?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, let's bring the jury
I'm
in.
introducing myself.
It does have a mock trial, high school mock trial.
No, not right now. Wednesday, love it.
He's brand new. He doesn't know what he's doing. And it's okay. Everyone has to start somewhere. But the funny thing is that his handler doesn't realize she's on the mic half the time. And handler's not a good term. I shouldn't say that either. Angelina Knox says, RA mods and chat, my family, Merry Christmas. Yes, thank you, Angelina. I appreciate the support of 8 months of support there. Hank Blatt says, I wonder if they will ask the jury to stay after and ask how they did. I haven't listened long enough to see if they do that. Stop with the spoilers, says Weather Watch. I'm sorry. This was so much fun. I was staying up so late last night recording this and watching it. And then I figured out how to put stuff in a playlist and have a queue and just autoplay.
The jury, welcome back to court. Seated, please. We're going to get started with the evidence part of the trial here in just a minute. Before we do, I wanted you to be introduced to another attorney who's here who you were not introduced to yesterday. She'll tell you who she is and why she's here. And I would like you to tell me if you know her from anywhere, if you have any familiarity with her. Ms. Kramer.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm talking loudly. Hopefully you can see and hear me. My name is Ivy Rose Kramer. I work for the state. I'm a prosecutor, just like Mr. Holcomb. I'm not representing the state in this case at all. My role here today is just to sit with Mr. Holcomb. I'm observing. You may occasionally see me talk to Mr. Holcomb. I wanted to make you aware of who I was, the fact that I'm not representing the state, and just make sure that none of you know me. And so if you do know me, please tell Commissioner Wool if that's the case.
So do any of you know Ms. Kramer from anywhere? Okay, excellent. All right, that was part of the questioning and when we started the trial, but she wasn't here to ask that of you. So.
And it is
all right, we're going to get started with the evidence part of the case. So Mr. Holcomb, state's first witness, please.
Your Honor, the state would like to call to the stand Trooper Nicholas Sherman.
It is a commissioner, not a judge. And I'm not sure.
May I have permission to?
Yeah, go and retrieve your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor.
He's going to go fetch the witness. I'm not sure why it works that way, but before, in the preceding hearing, the judge says, is there any objection to me hearing this case? And both sides agreed that the commissioner could hear this case. So he's handling that. Is she mic'd up? She sounds like those NFL games when a player's mic'd up. There's that mic, that sort of red light in the middle of the desk. That's the microphone on the desk, and both desks have one. So we'll hear a few things that we probably shouldn't hear because of that. Michael, I think the guy that the prosecutor here. I think he thought it was an open and shut case, but he's already just lost his key piece of evidence without the video. He's not going to be able to show the video of the defendant speeding through traffic, which is sort of like a slam dunk. And now he has to prove that with just the people who took the video and who were there. No opening statement. There was no opening statement. They just go straight to the evidence. Unless I missed it. I'm worried that I missed the opening statement.
Please approach the witness stand. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear that the testimony you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, please have a seat. And Mr. Holcomb, whenever you're ready.
Just take
Can you please state your name for the record?
Yep. I'm Trooper Trevor at the Lime State Patrol Aviation Section.
Okay. So you said you're currently employed with the Aviation Section. What is your role as part of the Aviation Section?
So I fly Cessnas primarily right now. So I do traffic law enforcement in Eastern Washington, and then I also do night missions here where we fly a Cessna 206 with a FLIR camera on the left wing and do speed enforcement, aggressive driving, and apprehend other criminal activity.
Okay. Are you the only one on board the plane?
No. So our flight crew is primarily, I'm the pilot, and then I have a camera operator that's in the back that's running the FLIR camera.
We're good.
Okay. And what's the position of the person operating the camera called?
So the person in the back is considered it's a tactical flight officer, or TFO for short.
Do you have any prior experience as a TFO officer?
I do. I started in 2019 as a TFO, and then 2020 I was assigned to a pilot position, and then now I've been flying ever since. So.
Okay. So how long have you worked for law enforcement in total?
So I joined the State Patrol in 2014, and then I was commissioned in 2015 during May.
Okay. What training went into you joining the Washington State Patrol in general?
So the academy is approximately 26 weeks. I don't know what it is now. It was for me during that time. And then part of that 26 weeks is an 8-week coaching trip. Goes through everything from
coaching trip,
learning how to handle a collision, speed estimates, how to stop cars using the equipment that we have in the vehicles, and everything else you can think of law enforcement related.
Okay. What training have you done specifically as a former TFO officer?
As a former TFO,
objection relevance.
First objection.
Overruled. Go ahead.
So
his training is
I'm not I'm as a former TFO, but I still am currently as well. Basically, we go through I had a 3-day course on how to operate the camera, how to use the equipment that we have in the plane. I also went through a thermographer course, which was a week-long class on the legality behind infrared and stuff that we use in the plane. And now I've basically just been using it ever since.
Okay. What training did you have specifically as a pilot? Were those overlapping courses, or were they two separate courses?
They were separate courses. So I went through as a TFO for about a year of experience, basically being a camera operator. And then after that year, I was offered that pilot position, and then basically a year-long course to get to my commercial license, and then started flying for doing mission-related stuff. So,
okay, so as a Washington State Patrol officer, what type of crimes predominantly do you investigate?
So, as a Washington State Patrol officer,
yeah,
or as a pilot.
Both.
So, I mean, Washington State Patrol, we do speed enforcement, DUIs. We look for aggressive driving. We have specialty units for collisions for when it becomes a felony charge, and basically anything.
So would you say that most of them involve driving offenses?
Yes.
Okay. So do you have any estimation of like how many driving related offenses you've dealt with or encountered or had a part in investigating?
In my career, there's been a lot, so I couldn't put a number on it.
Okay.
I have about 10 years on right now, so.
Okay. How many would you say you investigate in a given day?
Now I don't do much investigating at all, but before 2019, I did most of the investigating. Now I don't see that side as often.
Okay. Generally, what sort of driving behavior typically prompts a driving investigation or prompts you to look into a specific car's driving pattern?
Well, speed for one thing. Speed, lane travel, aggressive driving. So weaving in and out of traffic. Aggressive driving is listed as we considered anything with 2 moving violations. So if you're making bad lane changes and speeding at the same time, then you're considered
you guys,
driver.
I did a boo-boo. Hold on just one second. I just found the opening statements. I thought they weren't there, and I just found them. So give me just 1 second here. We're going to insert the opening statements right now before they disappear. We're not going to do all the judge's instructions, but just opening statements. Let's hit play here. 7 on. Okay. Here's opening statements. I apologize. They were nestled in there. I thought these were all judges' instructions.
Good afternoon, members of the jury. And I know that I've already said this, but I just really appreciate you showing up and being here today. The only reason that our system works is when people like you show up and give it your best, answer both fun questions and not so fun questions, and are attentive to the speakers. So I greatly appreciate you being here. On September 22nd of 2023, at roughly 11 o'clock at night, a police aircraft monitoring traffic observed a motorcycle traveling at a high rate of speed weaving through traffic on I-5. Officers on board notified a trooper on patrol named Trooper Clark. The aircraft notified the trooper that the defendant exited off I-5, and Trooper Clark observed the motorcycle in question driving down towards him on Martin Way. The speed limit on Martin Way is 40 miles an hour. The officer estimated that the defendant was going well over double the speed limit as he was approaching the defendant. Martin Way is a road that has crosswalks, multiple intersections with shrubs and trees blocking the sides of the road, blocking the sides of the entries. This happened in the dark at 11 p.m. and there are multiple exits and entries into shopping centers along the street. Deputy Trooper Clark did a U-turn and started to follow the defendant's motorcycle. Trooper Clark observed the defendant continue at double the speed limit through a red light. The defendant continued driving at a high rate of speed back onto I-5. Trooper Clark lost sight of the vehicle in order to avoid endangering other drivers on the road by continuing to pace the motorcycle. The aircraft that first spotted the defendant's motorcycle continued to give instructions to Trooper Clark on the ground. Trooper Clark didn't catch up until 10 to 15 minutes of driving in pursuit of the defendant. During that time, the trooper maintained his speed at or above the speed limit. Trooper Clark encountered the defendant at a gas station, identified the driver by his Washington driver's license as the defendant, Justin Walter. When asked why he ran, when Trooper Clark asked the defendant why he ran, the defendant said that he did not know that Trooper Clark was a police officer. When the state presents its case tomorrow, you will hear from Trooper Sherman, who piloted the aircraft that first noticed the defendant driving at a high rate of speed on I-5, continuing to drive at a high rate of speed on Martin Way, and continuing to drive again back onto I-5 at a high rate of speed. You will then hear from Trooper Clark, who observed the defendant going at double the speed limit towards him on Martin Way, saw him go through a red light and continue onto the highway,
and pursued him for 10 to 15 minutes at or above the speed limit by a substantial amount before he was able to catch up to the defendant. At the end of this case, the state will prove the elements beyond a reasonable doubt, and I will be asking you as the jury to do your duty and to find the defendant guilty of the charge of reckless driving. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon.
And goodbye. Good night. And good
now,
luck.
members of the jury, would you please give your attention to Mr. Gasling, the opening statement on behalf of Mr. Walter.
I think he's more experienced, even though he's very young. Although we're already going to struggle with the cables. It's looking for the end. There's an end. Maybe it'll fit in here. Judge doesn't mind the break because he's got some Christmas shopping he still has to do. It seems like a bit much, but we don't know how this ends.
Okay. All right.
Cable works.
Does the state need to?
I've seen PowerPoint.
Okay. Bear with me. I know it's kind of a juvenile drawing here. My main point is Justin Walter lives and breathes motor vehicles. It's a huge part of his life. Okay. He works as a mechanic and he loves his job. He likes to, or he gets to tinker with cars, tinker with trucks all day long, figure out what makes them work. And it gives him a lot of joy to troubleshoot, to figure out how to make them run better, how to fix a problem. But his love of vehicles doesn't stop when he punches out at the end of the day. One of his biggest hobbies is riding his motorcycle. And he's been riding his motorcycle for about as long as he's had his license. It's been between 5 and 6 years.
Maybe a little longer.
One thing he really likes to do on his motorcycle is take scenic roads. Just found this stock image, but I thought it perfectly encapsulated what's fun about riding motorcycles. Taking them down windy roads, turning the bike from side to side, doing some cornering, driving interesting paths. He also enjoys being part of the motorcyclist community. He has a lot of friends who he rides with.
This is normal speed. This is their
When the
normal
weather
voices.
is good, he likes to meet up with those friends and basically see where the road takes him that day. And that's exactly what happened in this case. It was a nice, clear day, September 22nd, 2023. Mr. Walter hopped on his bike. He went to go meet some friends for a ride. He ended up going all the way up north to Tacoma because it was just a great day for riding. Before he knew it, his friends had gone home. It was dark. It was time to head back to his house. So he hopped on I-5, headed back home. Well, this is just kind of a picture of where this all occurred. So Mr. Walter's driving. It's nighttime. There's not a lot of traffic. Let's come down I-5. And Tacoma's up here, right? Let's come down I-5. He gets a little bored. I-5's a pretty straight shot, right? There are not a lot of interesting curves. It's just, it gets a little monotonous. So Mr. Walter takes the exit right around here, gets off onto Martin Way, starts driving down Martin Way. Another thing Martin Way is a straight shot, so it gets a little boring. Mr. Walter doesn't really want his evening ride to end. So he decides he's going to loop back along I-5 and take a slightly more scenic route, Nisqually Cutoff Road, down to Stiligan Road. There's some more interesting turns, some pretty trees.
I take scenic routes every time I'm trying to escape police tails.
While he's going down Martin Way, something kind of unusual happens. He sees a big vehicle out of the corner of his eye make a really sharp left turn. Okay, so Mr. Walter's traveling this road. He sees some headlights coming at him, notices that vehicle bangs a left behind him. And he finds that weird because he's just passed a place where there's no logical turnoff. He doesn't really know what that vehicle's doing, and it kind of spooks him. Now, to you and me, that might not seem like a weird occurrence. Or maybe someone's pulling a U-turn, maybe they're lost, who knows? But for a guy in Mr. Walter's position on a motorcycle, he's a little more vulnerable than someone in a car. He's part of this motorcyclist community. He has heard many stories about how big vehicles sometimes go out of their way to purposefully harm motorcycles. So his defensive driving kicks in there. Instead of sticking around and seeing what that vehicle wants, he puts distance between himself and that vehicle. He doesn't know what the vehicle wants. He doesn't know who's driving the vehicle. He doesn't know what's going to happen. So he accelerates, turns back on I-5. And again, when he's on I-5, it's not the most entertaining kind of riding. So when the coast is clear, when he has the space, he opens up the throttle. He's going fast, and no one is denying that Mr. Walter was riding his motorcycle fast. That's, again, part of what makes riding motorcycles fun, right? Curving roads, going fast. It's fun when you do it intelligently.
I think the jury's ready to deliberate here.
So that's what he did. When he had space to move, he moved. When he had space to speed up, he sped up. He ends up taking that same exit, this time going onto Nisqually Cutoff Road. He just starts to make his way down the Skillican Road here, going through some trees, when he realizes he's been riding so long that his gas light just turned on. He needs to get gas or he's not going to be able to get home. So he turns around, makes his way to a 76 gas station. When he's there at the pump, that's when two police cars pull up, immediately jump out of their vehicles and arrest him. Mr. Walter's confused because he had no idea the police were following him. Now I imagine you'll hear a lot about how Mr. Walter was riding fast. Again, no one's denying that. You are going to hear something about him possibly running a red light. Maybe it was a yellow light. At this point, it doesn't really matter. You will hear the evidence. You will see the evidence. You will come to your own conclusion. But what I want to emphasize here is that this was a very simple situation, and it has been severely blown out of proportion. The police started talking to each other. They either saw a motorcycle riding fast or they heard that a motorcycle was riding fast. Maybe one of them tried to or intended to pull him over, but never turned on his lights. They ended up following him for miles. All the while, Mr. Walter's just out there enjoying the night, enjoying his ride. As simple as that. He had no idea this was going on. And yes, he opened up, he put on the gas. He was enjoying some freedom on his bike. Next thing he knows, he's getting handcuffed. It's confusing. Now, why the police changed their conclusions, that's not something that we can change. That's not something that can be changed. But Mr. Walter has asked you here today and tomorrow to figure out, what did he actually do? Speeding. Maybe running a red light. Maybe. Maybe some improper passing. We have a system that deals with that kind of behavior. Speeding, going through a light, improper lane changes, improper passing, and it involves a monetary fine, a ticket, not criminal charges. So again, Mr. Walter's asking you, what did he actually do? Speeding, maybe a light, maybe some improper changes. After you've reviewed all the evidence, there's really one logical conclusion. Yeah, he was driving fast, but it was not a crime. He is not guilty of this charge. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll need to know what this charge is. Because I thought he was charged with speeding, running a red light.
Members of the jury, at this point, I'm going to excuse you for the evening. Please.
So now we're going
what I said earlier.
to jump back over to our other.
Or with anyone else. And when your friends and family ask you about it, just repeat that.
Just
Under
lie.
The judge's instructions not to discuss it. I'll have you come back to the jury deliberation room tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, and right around that time, we'll resume the trial, and you'll start hearing evidence. All right. Thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.
So they bail.
Just the clerk will give you instructions on that.
Okay. So now we're going to pick up where we left off. Okay.
Yep.
We're interviewing.
Non-responsive legal conclusion.
Oh wait, we have to back up because that was objection number 2.
So you said there.
Okay. Let's see if that's enough.
So there typically have to be 2 infractions. So would you say that it typically requires more than just speeding, or because you said multiple infractions? So can you develop that out for me a little bit?
Objection calls for narration.
This guy's overruled.
So for aggressive, that's just aggressive driving is just one of those things that we just keep a stat of for statistical data. It's not necessarily a law.
Okay.
So.
Okay. All right. Were you employed by the Washington State Patrol on September 22nd of 2023?
That's correct.
Okay. What was your job on September 22nd of 2023?
September 22nd, I started my shift at that time. I can't recall if it was a 1500 to or 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. shift or whether it was a 5 p.m. to 3 a.m. shift, but I was assigned as the pilot that night along with my TFO, and we took off to start actively patrolling the metropolitan areas along I-5.
Okay. On that date, did you observe a motorcycle while you were piloting Smoky 3?
Objection leading.
I didn't observe the motorcycle. My TFO advised me of a motorcycle, and I turned the plane around to follow it.
Okay. So after you turned around to follow it, so you weren't the first to observe it, but did you observe it that night?
I did observe the motorcycle, yeah.
Okay. Do you remember in what county the motorcycle was located when you first observed it?
Yep, Pierce County.
Okay. And the motorcycle continued driving, did the motorcycle continue driving after you saw it?
That's correct.
Okay. Do you remember what counties it drove through?
It drove through Pierce County and then into Thurston County.
Okay. So in Thurston County, Washington.
That's correct.
Okay. So what was it about the motorcycle that drew your attention to it other than the TFO officer pointing it out to you?
So one thing that's very noticeable is excessive speed, especially in the aircraft. When the aircraft's going a certain speed and there's a motorcycle passing you, that's kind of an indicator that you have somebody that's going a little fast.
Okay.
What
did you do in response to seeing the motorcycle driving at that speed?
So we normally, when we're flying our aircraft, we have our flaps in, we're kind of going at a loiter speed. So when I saw the motorcycle and observed it after my TFO let me know, basically we have to put in throttle and pull our flaps up and start following it fast, pick up the speed to basically keep up with it.
Okay. Did you notify anyone about seeing the vehicle?
I believe the TFO notified Pierce County and then moved on to Thurston County's dispatch for the State Patrol.
Okay. On that night, did you make any contact with the trooper Benjamin Clark?
I made no contact with him. It would have been, correction. I assisted with some radio communications just for strategy because I could see an overall big picture of what was going on versus my TFO who's only seeing it through a screen. Okay, so in the big picture, do you recall what Trooper Benjamin Clark's role was? He was the trooper that was assisting us with trying to attempt to contact the motorcycle. Okay, so what did Trooper Clark do in response to assist you in contacting the motorcycle?
Objection, lack of personal knowledge.
If he knows, he can answer.
Trooper Clark, he was the direct line from the TFO in the back seat following the motorcycle as I was flying to attempt to contact this motorcycle. He was being told where the motorcycle was going the entire time. So in order to locate it, he gave up to date positions in order to get to the ending point.
Okay. So do you remember what road the motorcycle was? I think you said this earlier, but do you remember what road the motorcycle was driving on when you first spotted it?
It was on I-5 southbound.
Okay. Were there any other vehicles on I-5?
Yes. Traffic was light during the time. It's just light. I mean, moderate, light, heavy. I think we all understand what that means.
Okay. So do you recall around what time it was?
It was later PM hours. I'm not entirely sure.
Okay. So was it daylight out, nighttime?
Nighttime.
Okay. How fast was the defendant going in relation to traffic? You said the speed was noticeably different. How fast?
The speed was definitely excessive. He was passing cars like they were standing still.
Okay. So you said that he was passing cars as if they were standing still. Did he maneuver his vehicle to get around them?
Objection leading.
Sustained.
He won one.
Okay. How did the motorcycle respond to the other vehicles on the road going at a slower rate of speed?
Instead of how normally vehicles move around traffic, as you're in the left lane, vehicles move out of the left lane for the vehicle that's faster behind them.
Objection non-responsive.
He's got all of them.
Sustained.
Okay.
Your Honor, I would ask to strike that from the record and instruct the jury to disregard.
Yeah, the jury will disregard the last part of that answer, and you can go ahead and ask another question, Mr. Holcomb.
Okay. Was the motorcycle able to stay in the same lane while it was driving?
No.
Was it able to stay in the same lane for longer than, say, a 5 to 10 second period as it was approaching traffic?
At times, maybe. I'd have to review the video in order to know.
Okay. All right. So, did the motorcycle stay on I-5 the entire time you were observing it?
No, it did not.
Okay. So, what did it do? So, it was initially on I-5, correct?
That's correct.
What did it do? What did the motorcycle do when it left I-5? Like, where did it leave I-5?
It left I-5 into the Lacey area, I believe is what that area is.
Okay. So did it exit onto another highway? Did it exit onto
surface city streets?
Okay. Did you notice if there was any traffic on the surface city streets?
The city streets are again also pretty light during that time of hour.
Okay. Were you able to tell if there were any intersections on the city streets he was driving on?
Yeah, there were multiple intersections crossing the main road.
Okay. So you said traffic was light, but did you see any other vehicles on those?
There were other vehicles in the area.
Okay. All right. So did the defendant get back on I-5 or did it stay on the rural city streets?
The defendant eventually entered I-5 again.
Okay. Did the how would you describe the defendant's speed when he got back onto I-5?
Again, it was still, you could definitely see a visual or excess of speed.
Does Smokey have a method to obtain a speed reading?
Yes. So in the plane, we have a FLIR camera that has slave.
Objection, Your Honor.
Your Honor,
Lack of personal knowledge, lack of ability to lay the foundation on how this system works.
The question was whether the aircraft had a device that allowed it to measure speed, and the answer was yes. Mm-hmm. Everything after that is non-responsive.
Okay. What is that method of obtaining the speed reading?
Objection, Your Honor. If we could voir dire this witness outside of the hearing of the jury.
I was just going to suggest that. All right, members of the jury, I'm going to excuse you to the jury room for a few minutes while I resolve a legal question.
The judge knew this was coming because of the pretrial motions. The defense has raised this concern that the officers operating this aircraft tracking mechanism have no idea how it works, and possibly no idea how to work it. Defense is going all out. This is a public defender, guys. He's doing a great job. This is the same energy level you'd expect from somebody defending a murder victim.
So, what are you asking of this witness now?
So, Your Honor, earlier in testimony, I asked if he had any experience as a TFO officer.
Right.
So I was asking him whether or not Smokey has the ability to detect speed. I was going to ask what that device is called. I was going to ask him if he received any training in how this device worked. I was going to ask him if he has any training or knowledge or experience with how the device specifically tracks the speed of the vehicle. So I believe that I have the ability to lay the foundation of this case given.
Just a moment, Your Honor.
Smokey is the code name for the officers. Like Smokey 3 is on the ground and Smokey whatever is up in the air. That's their code names. So it's literally Smokey and the Bandit. It's hilarious.
So, Your Honor, in addition to, I know that Mr. Gasling is objecting under Fry, and I
don't anticipate his objection. Okay. I'll get to that. I'm interested in offering proof of where you're going.
That's what the lady told him to say.
So I intend to, if I'm able to lay the proper foundation for it, I intend to ask what the speed reading was of Smokey 3.
Okay, so you're attempting to ultimately get to the point that you're going to ask the trooper what the speed reading was that came from this speed measuring device
that was being operated by a separate tactical flight officer.
Okay. No, I understand. Didn't we discuss this yesterday?
Yes, Your Honor. And my understanding was that the video was excluded. But my understanding was that if I was able to lay the proper foundation for the speed read, that I would be able to admit that. I initially did not believe that I was going to be able to, so I specifically talked to Trooper Sherman about his training experience in more detail this morning, and along with DPA Kramer, and he specifically talked about how he has former experience as a TFL officer. Before this morning, I did not know that.
I understand. All right. So the objection then, Mr. Gasol.
Your Honor, it's at least twofold. One, he was not the person who was operating the augmented reality system this night. Any speed measurement that was obtained would have to come from Officer Hayes, as he was the one operating the machine. He knows exactly when he tapped. Mr. Walter needs to have the opportunity to cross-examine any witness against him, or else it's violating his right under the Confrontation Clause. Trooper Sherman was piloting this plane, has informed me categorically that he was not the one operating this system. So while he may be familiar with how to tap a screen to obtain a speed reading, he was not the one doing it tonight. Additionally, Trooper Sherman has informed me that he does not know how the augmented reality system is programmed. He does not handle the programming, doesn't do the coding, doesn't do the maintenance. That's all done by a third-party entity called Churchill Navigation. This is a detailed piece of equipment that runs on specialized software, in which Trooper Sherman, while he's a qualified pilot, is not an expert in.
Well, so this thing is called the augmented reality system?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're using the right term. Okay. Bear with me.
So this is a great defense. He's already got the video thrown out.
So the augmented reality system is used by the tactical flight officer.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And that's a different person. That's not Trooper Sherman in this instance.
Yes, Your Honor.
But he's familiar with the augmented reality system from his work as a tactical flight officer.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that would then, and Mr. Gasling, tell me if you have an objection to this analysis. This is your objection. Trooper Sherman would have he would be able to testify as to how to operate the augmented reality system because he is trained on it and has prior experience in using it. Okay. So I guess then my question, which may be somewhat in line with this objection, is that relevant?
Yes, Your Honor, and I believe that it is relevant in part because Trooper Sherman actively was working with the TFO to get the speed reading because he had to position the plane in a way that it was able to get the speed reading. He was an active participant in this process. He understands how the system works, and I believe that that's relevant to the speed reading in this case.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying, but I'm not sure yet whether that circumstance would allow you to lay the foundation for a reading that was obtained by this augmented reality system. There's a couple reasons for that. One is the training and qualifications of the other trooper, which are unknown at this point, although you may be able to establish those, I don't know. And then whether that trooper correctly operated the system under the circumstances of this case, right? And that's before we get into Mr. Gasling's objections about the underlying technology of the system, which, as we discussed yesterday, presumably the system employs some scientific principle in order to obtain a result. And I would like to know also, do either of these troopers have the qualifications to testify about that?
So obviously feel free to correct me if I ever say anything that's incorrect. My understanding is that Trooper Sherman has received training on how the system works and how it is able to detect that speed. I was also planning to ask if this is commonly used by the force, how long it has been in use. I intend to ask the foundational questions to satisfy the FRI requirements. And I believe that that would address the concerns that the court has about the underlying technology.
Yeah, I'm not sure it does, because generally speaking, you would need to, in order to do that, to establish that foundation, you would need to have someone testify regarding the design and construction of the instrument that takes the reading and produces the result, and what scientific principles it employs in order to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that would be, you might think of that as like the design and construction part. In other words, there's engineering and science in the device itself. That's one part of it. And then there's the operator, which is the other part of it, where this is where you're talking about Trooper Sherman and the other trooper, who are individuals who are trained in the operation of the device. In other words, they use it in a way that allows it to perform its function and produce a reliable result. And so they would be trained on that. They would have experience on that. And I don't have any doubt that you could establish that part of the foundation, because Trooper Sherman's right here and he's told us he has that experience. But you may want to ask Trooper Sherman what his knowledge, experience, and training is with regard to the design and construction of the instrument and how it employs a scientific principle to produce a result. That you may not be able to do, in which case the objection would have to be sustained.
And Your Honor, I just wanted to add, it's not whether this device is commonly used by the Washington State Patrol, it's whether it's commonly accepted in the specific scientific community.
Yeah, understood. If you want an analogy, it would be like a radar speed measuring device. There's, on the one hand, part of the foundation is that the operator is trained and experienced in how to use it and used it correctly, consistently with that training and experience on a particular occasion, and that it produced a result. Right? The other part of the foundation is the design and construction of the device. That is, if you might think of that as an engineering question, partially, and a science question, in the sense that someone has to be able to say that the device is designed and constructed to employ a particular scientific principle that, when used correctly, produces an accurate and reliable result. That is the part I think is missing out of this equation. And I'm speculating because I didn't ask Trooper Sherman any of those questions. He may be a scientist. He may know everything there is to know about the design and construction of this augmented reality system. And if he does, then terrific. You may be able to lay the foundation. But if he doesn't, well, that's a different issue. So
Your Honor, I think
that's
I can
the part I'm a little concerned it may be missing here.
possibly resolve that. I did speak with Trooper Sherman about this. Asked him what kind of, this was on the 7th of December, what kind of equipment are you using to record, to measure speed? Not Trooper Sherman. We have a system called the Augmented Reality System. We call it short ARS. It basically uses time distance formulas to come up with speed when we're tracking vehicles, and it can do that based off of the camera system. The company who puts that out is Churchill. They're the people who are behind the science on it. They're the ones that will comment on any sort of cases that need more explanation. They can get those numbers. I asked, do you personally maintain the equipment? Does someone from Churchill come out to maintain that equipment? It says, let's see. When it comes to actual software of that system, they, meaning Churchill, handle all of that stuff. So we'll send out our actual computer to them and have some of the things taken care of. Or they'll link in with us. They'll be able to run updates and diagnostic stuff on it if for some reason we're having an issue with it. I don't anticipate Trooper Sherman will have anything to add to that.
Yeah, where does that leave you then, Mr. Fulton? You can
I speak with
pass the lifeline if you'd like to. That's fine.
Thank you.
You can make one phone call. This was yesterday. Okay, so this trial is still ongoing. The jury has not come back yet with a verdict. So they deliberated for about an hour, maybe a little over an hour yesterday, and they have not reached a verdict in this trial. And I believe it sounds like from the opening statements that it's not really the traffic ticket, the speeding, the running the red light, even the improper lane changes, passing on the right, whatever it was. That's not what the defense is fighting so much as the fact that he's being charged with like reckless driving, which is a crime. And they're saying no, it was just simple, 100, 120 maybe on the bike, and yeah, maybe it was a yellow, orange light. Anyway, so they just don't like the fact that all his actions escalated to this criminal charge.
So, Your Honor, my understanding is that Trooper Sherman calibrates the system before he uses it. And again, correct me if I say anything incorrect. My understanding is that he calibrates the system. In order to calibrate the system, he has to understand the workings of the system. He doesn't work on the software end of it, but he does maintain the functionality of the system in order to operate it.
He just clicks the button.
That all makes sense. That in my view is consistent with what someone who's a trained operator of a device would be expected to do, right? That's part of their process, is to make sure that if they intend to use it, that it's working correctly. And they have to make sure that it, for example, a device may be required to be charged. It may be required to be stored at a certain temperature. It may be required to go through a system of checks to show that all of its internal parts are working correctly and give feedback to the operator, verify that before they employ it. That's all. I would expect that any operator would go through some process like that as part of using the equipment. But that doesn't get us any closer to the other part of what I was discussing, which was the design and construction. Inside of that device are instruments that do something. They take measurements. They employ some, either something like a radar or a laser or something like that, GPS coordinates that then they process through some computer program, probably employing a principle that gives a result, right? That's the part where you're not touching on that. Okay. So if what you're doing here is you're trying to if you want to get to the point where you want to ask Trooper Sherman, how fast was the motorcycle going? And you want his answer to be whatever he wrote in his report, and that information came from the augmented reality system. You're not going to be able to do that without that part of the foundation that addresses design and construction of the instrument itself.
Okay. Your Honor, I just wanted to add that even if the state could lay this foundation, Trooper Sherman is not the one who took the reading. He did not write a report here. It was a separate
even before we
officer.
get to that point. Yeah. So I don't want to, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it either, because it may not be as important as you think it is. But just like I wouldn't allow a trooper on the side of I-5 to testify as to the result of a radar reading without those foundational elements being in place. Not just that he knows how to use the device, that yes, but that's not enough. It would also have to be other testimony about how it works. How does it do this thing to produce a reading that is accurate and reliable and that we can trust? This part of this, we don't know.
If he was doing double the speed limit on the I-5,
does that make sense to you?
The speed limit is 70.
Okay. Does that affect
that puts him up to around
where you want to go with the
140
rest of
by my
Trooper
math.
Sherman's testimony?
Would it be possible for me to, this is the first time that I've been voir diring a witness for this purpose.
Yeah,
So
what we're doing here is an offer of proof, and it's a little bit less formal than doing this in front of a jury. So
Okay.
it's okay to ask questions about it.
Okay, so can I ask Trooper Sherman? Okay. Do you have any, during your trainings and experience, do you have any knowledge of the principles at work here as to how the device specifically gets the speed reading?
Just as the defense said, it's basically time distance, and it's an average of over that time distance it traveled, so it benefits the rider or the driver.
Okay, so do you know how a radar system operates?
It's been a while since I touched up on it, so I have to review on it, but I don't have one in my car.
Okay. So do you know anything about the inner workings of the instrument of the augmented reality system? Okay.
Anything on Churchill's side of it, unfortunately.
Okay.
Just that's what they told us in the training, and basically we're just like you've heard, you tap the vehicle that we want to check the speed on, you tap it again when it tells you to.
Okay. Okay. Based on the testimony from Trooper Sherman, I don't plan on asking for the specifics of the speed read. I would ask, is it permissible for me to ask if the speed read was consistent with his estimation of how fast it was going? Okay, then I won't ask that either.
Does that address your objection?
Yes, and I just would add, defense is concerned that even a mention of this capability of measuring speed on the plane is going to prejudice Mr. Walter, because the jury is going to be left wondering, well, why don't we have that speed measurement? It's going to be inviting them to speculate.
Yeah, that does render it irrelevant.
He's whittling down.
And when I say that, Mr. Holcomb, it's not a criticism. This sounds to me from our discussion yesterday like something that came up somewhat unexpectedly anyway. So it sounds to me like you were taken by surprise by this. So it is not surprising to me that, given that, you don't have the rest of the basis that you need in order to introduce this in front of the jury. Now, like I said, I'm not sure how important that is. It just limits you from being able to introduce a speed reading that was produced on the device.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of your case, I don't think is affected.
Mm-hmm.
So now they can't even say how fast he was going from the plane.
Before I bring the jury back in, does that address your concerns?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. All right. We'll bring the jury back in. And we can
Ask for a limiting instruction.
Your Honor, may I, can we please have a limiting instruction just to address defense's concerns about the speed reading device, if the court believes that it's appropriate?
Well, let me think about it. We only just introduced the concept that there might be a speed measuring device on the airplane. But if we don't go any further into it than that, I don't think we're going to need to worry about it.
Okay.
This is the sort of case that gets technology like aircraft radar planes removed from use in states. If this guy wins this one, because it sets a precedence, and then you can then cite whatever happened in this case and the next case, and unless the basis of the facts change.
Please, and Mr. Holcomb, you may resume.
Okay, so to review, you first saw the defendant, the motorcycle on I-5.
That's correct.
Then exited into the city streets, or what was the term that you used again?
City surface streets.
Yeah, city surface streets. And then the motorcycle got back onto I-5.
That's correct.
Okay. After it got back onto I-5, when did the motorcycle eventually stop?
He eventually exited off of, I believe it's an exit closer to Nisqually, and eventually got to a gas station where he started filling up.
Okay. Do you know when Trooper Clark, if Trooper Clark made contact with the defendant or the motorcycle?
To my knowledge, I couldn't say who contacted. I just know, I don't know if it was multiple or a couple. Law enforcement did contact the motorcyclist at the gas station.
Okay. At any point when the airplane was following this motorcycle, did you lose sight of the motorcycle, or did your team lose sight of the motorcycle?
Team did not. Myself being the pilot, I can't see everything, so I did lose sight of it, but my TFO was able to keep the motorcycle in view.
The entire time?
The entire time.
Okay.
Objection, Your Honor. If say lack of personal knowledge.
Second. Sustained.
Your Honor, ask that it be stricken from the record and to instruct the jury to disregard.
Yeah, the jury will disregard that answer. Mr. Holcomb, you can ask another question.
This poor prosecutor. Oh my goodness.
All right. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Gasling.
He did all that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
There's
May I have just one moment, please.
Mr. Gasling's just going to organize his thoughts briefly. So he took a loss there. The prosecutor sort of chased that rabbit as far as he could, and then the end result was overruled and not admitted and struck from the record. So the defense is really winning. They've already made so much ground up, just getting the video thrown out, getting the fact that there was a speed measurement device on the plane thrown out, or at least so far it hasn't been allowed in.
Morning.
Okay. So, Trooper Sherman, I want to make sure I heard you correctly. You said you've been a Washington State Patrol. You've been employed with Washington State Patrol for about 10 years?
Approximately 10 years.
Approximately 10 years.
We're coming up on 10 in a year.
Congratulations. That's longer than I've ever spent at any job.
Because you haven't been working for more than 10 years.
And I think I also heard you say you've done a lot of cases.
That's correct.
So many cases that you can't put a number on it.
I can't put a number on it.
Your position on this particular date was a pilot.
That's correct.
So you're flying a Cessna airplane.
That's correct.
That's a small airplane.
Yes, it is.
Propeller plane.
Correct.
You're manning a control panel.
That's correct.
I think there are, let's say, 6 primary instruments on that control panel. Am I getting that right? And that's to measure things like altitude,
That's correct.
speed.
Yep, speed.
I don't know enough about flying, but the way the plane is tilted.
Yep.
Okay. And so those instruments are pretty important.
That's correct.
You monitor them to keep the plane from crashing.
That's correct.
Okay. That was your primary role on this night?
That's correct. I'm the pilot.
Okay. Yeah, you got to ensure the plane stays airborne, right?
That is correct.
Okay. And you have a partial view outside of the plane.
Yes, I do.
There's a window up front, so that might show you the horizon.
Yes.
Okay. And then maybe a small window to your left.
That's correct. Got a window off the side of the airplane, like a car door, basically.
Yeah. And so if your plane is level and you're looking out that window, are you looking at the wing?
So when the plane's level, I'm looking out the wing, and you can see the camera gimbal on the side of the wing.
So in order to see the ground, your plane has to be tilted towards the ground?
No, how it's set up is as we're in a bank or if we're in straight level, the camera can tilt down, see down, can do whole 360. It just can't. It has limitations to how far up it can go, and certain areas, if you're flying over something, if it's directly straight down, it can tumble the gimbals.
Thank you. Okay, so we've established you were the one flying the plane tonight, and there was another human in that plane with you.
That's correct.
That was your tactical flight officer.
That is correct.
And it was his job to monitor the ground.
That is correct.
So your job is 1, keep the plane airborne. 2, help him get a good view of the ground.
Yep.
Okay. So generally, you see something different from the other officer, from the tactical flight officer.
Yes.
You have this big picture.
Yep.
Okay. And you can see things like landmarks.
Yeah.
Gas stations.
Yep.
Stores.
Yep.
Okay. General streets down below.
Yep.
You can sometimes see vehicles.
Yeah.
At night, it's more difficult to see those vehicles.
It is.
So you notice the vehicles by headlights?
Headlights, if we go under a street light, we might be able to catch a color, but primarily it's from the camera that we're using.
Motorcycles are a bit smaller than cars.
They are small.
And let's see, motorcycles are tough to see.
Tough to see through my eye, not tough to see on the camera.
You were looking through your eyes.
I'm looking with my eyes, though.
Okay.
That's what I usually look with. Thank you, Lynn. I hope you get a speedy recovery. Happy holidays to you as well.
I heard you say something, and I wanted a little clarification there. The prosecutor asked you, was the motorcycle not able to stay in the same lane? Do you recall that question?
I do.
Okay, by not able to stay in the same lane, you mean it maneuvered around other vehicles?
Yes, it was maneuvering around slower traffic.
Okay.
Bravo Chick says finding this community is the best gift of 2023.
I also heard you say traffic was mostly light on this evening.
Mostly light. If you recall, there was an area where it got a little bit more towards the moderate side, but for the most part, it was light most of the time.
Light to moderate. Okay.
Thank you, Bravo Chick.
You can't give an exact number of cars that
Merry
you saw.
Christmas.
No.
Happy Festivus.
And today's December 21st, and this occurred on September 22nd, correct?
I believe so.
So it's about 3 months ago, almost to the day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You did not write any report in this case.
I did, no.
Okay. When you do these kind of flights often?
That's correct.
So often, in fact, that they all blend together.
Certain ones, they kind
Objection. Calls for speculation.
Overruled.
Certain ones can stand out depending upon how severe they are. Others, I mean, it just depends. How exciting was it? For us, basically, is how we remember them.
You and I had an interview before this trial on the 7th of December.
I object.
He's just humming to himself. Just dismantling this case line by line. Yeah, If you go back and watch him, the prosecutor standing up to make that objection, he like stops halfway up twice. He's like, and he barely gets up to his feet because she elbows him. She like throws an elbow, and says, "Hey, object!" And he's like getting up, and his heart wasn't in it, and the law wasn't behind it. So the judge overruled him. This is like a first year law student arguing with the final year law student. They're all students, but the one has much more knowledge. No, she is the experienced lawyer who's there mentoring the prosecutor.
You and I were talking about during that interview, whether you recalled seeing a lot of motor vehicle traffic. You already said you don't recall a lot, light to moderate.
Mm-hmm.
I believe your words were, "We do these so
Objection.
often."
Improper impeachment.
I believe you said, "We do these so often, they all blend in together." Were those your words?
Yeah.
Okay.
Watch her throw elbows, and he stands every time she throws an elbow. This was found by Sharon McDonald. Some of our great mods.
That covers my questions. Thank you.
Find these cases for us. This one happened yesterday in
Any
Thurston.
redirect?
Thurston County, Washington. Angela, no, this is yesterday. The jury is still deliberating, so they have not returned a verdict yet. We might be able to take the verdict live. Depends how long they deliberate today. It'll probably be delayed. But.
Have them send someone with more experience.
Seeing if they want to ask any more questions. Elbow speculation, the finger is relevance. Redirect.
Do you remember this pursuit?
I do after last night when I reviewed the video.
Objection, Your Honor. Prejudicial, you've already ruled on suppression.
Did he say video?
I'm going to overrule the objection. He answered that he recalls the incident. So another question.
In your job as a pilot, do you have to keep an eye on what's going on the ground?
Both. So I have to keep an eye on the ground to primarily make sure that I'm keeping the best picture for my TFO, but I'm also paying attention to how not to get myself in trouble with the FAA, with regulations.
Okay, so in order to help the TFO, you said earlier you have the big picture.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to help the TFO, you have to have some idea of what's going on the ground to get that camera into position, correct?
Correct.
Okay. During this flight, do you remember observing any other motorcycles in the immediate area during this pursuit?
I'd have to, once again, review the video just to verify.
Okay.
Objection, Your Honor.
He's frustrated. Shake it the head.
Continuing, it's prejudicing my client. It's inviting the jury to speculate about evidence that is not in front of them.
Sustained.
You ask? What? Your Honor, at this point, I would move for a mistrial. I don't think it's fair.
Hold on, before you do that, let me excuse the jury. So members of the jury, I'm going to once again excuse you to the jury deliberation room.
I'm going to count the mistrial as a separate objection. But here we go. This lawyer is doing everything. He's asked for a mistrial because twice they mentioned video, and video was ruled out. We don't like them saying video. The judge did not allow the video. It got thrown out because it was a late admission They just barely delivered it. Let's see, today's Friday. This happened yesterday. The video was delivered to the defense on Monday.
I did overrule an objection and allowed you to ask Trooper Sherman about his recollection and how it is. He refreshed his recollection essentially, and there was that reference to the video. But I think we need to leave that behind. Any more references to there being other evidence that isn't going to be put in front of the jury, or evidence that we discussed yesterday that was not going to be admissible based on that discovery issue. I want you to stay away from that. Now, having said that, Mr. Gasling was going to make a motion for a mistrial, and I was going to give you a chance to do that without the jury hearing what we're discussing.
Your Honor, at this point, they've heard I'm objecting and asking for a mistrial, Your Honor, here, because they've been told that there is a video equipment. They're not going to see that video. Once that the plane was equipped with that, twice that Trooper Sherman reviewed that video, and that's what his memory is based off of, and then a third time that there's this video evidence that they are not going to receive. The seed has been planted, and I don't think, if you want to use other metaphors, the bell has been rung. It can't be unrung here. The jurors know that this exists. They're going to be questioning why they haven't seen it, and they are going to be deciding this case based on, well, if the trooper remembers this based off of video, then it must be accurate. That's not fair to Mr. Walter. It's violating his right to confront. It's violating his right to be tried by an impartial jury. Mr. Holden.
Your Honor, my argument would be twofold. First of all, I believe that the absence of evidence, if anything, is often held against the state. Because if the state is in possession of a video footage, then a jury member is just as likely to ask, why didn't I see this video footage if it exists? Why did the state never show it? And secondly, Your Honor, I believe that any prejudice that can result or could result from this could be solved with a limiting instruction, because there is often evidence that is referred to or briefly referred to by officers that is not put in front of the jury. This can come in the form of reports, transcripts, occasionally dash cam footage. I believe that if there's a remedy to be had here, I believe, as I suggested earlier, we are further along in the process, but I believe that a limiting instruction would be appropriate here, and I think it would be able to remedy the prejudice that defense is concerned about.
Last word, Mr. Gasling.
I will leave it at that, Your Honor.
I think she's a member of court, like a clerk or an assistant that keeps walking back and forth. She helps the jury find the jury room and back out again.
I think a mistrial, the mistrial is an extraordinary remedy. It's a pretty drastic thing to do in a trial. And, you know, this trial, I think, my perception of how this all came about is that, based on the discussion we had yesterday, that this video is a little bit unanticipated. And that, I know, can, you know, it doesn't matter which side of the case you're trying, when you find out late in the game that there's a video, it's a little bit jarring maybe, or it can take your equilibrium out from under you. And then, you know, to find out that it's not going to be admissible for other reasons that were discussed, you know, that should sort of put a box around it, make it off limits. Now, I can see where Trooper Sherman might, you know, sort of naturally expect that, you know, this feature of his, you know, daily duties in his aircraft and his, you know, the systems that he uses on board the aircraft are going to be discussed as part of this case. So he may inadvertently sort of wander into that territory and not necessarily out of any bad faith, just sort of out of normal expectation that this is a discussion about how he performs his duties on a day-to-day basis. And I don't assign any misconduct or malice to that, but I've got to take seriously what Mr. Gasson said, which is that, we've had repetition now in front of the jury about the existence of this video, which I think naturally will provoke speculation. Where is it? What's on it? They've talked about it. What's on it? Is this, being kept from us for a reason, or, all the things that, as the prosecutor, you're going to worry about, and defense is going to worry about for the reasons that Mr. Gasson said. This particular jury, I don't know how they're going to take that. Now, they're under instruction. They've been told now 2 different times based on Mr. Gasling's objections, and 1 time earlier than that based on my general instructions that they are to disregard any evidence that's either not admitted or is stricken by the court. And there is a built-in presumption that the jury is capable of following the court's instructions in this regard. However, there could easily come a time when the ability to do that is just overcome by repetition or, a sort of profound referral to this evidence is not there for them. And I want to avoid that. And I'm going to tell you, I'm sort of on the point of, have we reached that point where, they've heard about this too many times in the context of, describing this event. And I don't want to invite speculation, especially speculation that's going to prejudice the defendant's case. But at this point, I'm going to rely on their ability to follow the instructions that they've been given generally, and the instructions that they were given to disregard certain answers. And later, in the concluding instructions, they'll be told that they won't be allowed to use any evidence that was stricken, including those answers, in formulating their verdict. But that's as far as I'm going to go. I really do have to emphasize that it's impermissible, and I think if it happens again, prejudicial to the defendant to mention that there's this video, or to expand, because Mr. Gasling did object to this, that there's also a device that takes measurements. That's got to be stayed away from.
So now they can't use radar. They can't use any onboard measurement tool. Can't talk about the video. Lady's like, hey, get over here.
Request a moment with your witness.
Ask for a moment with your witness.
Your Honor, may I briefly request a moment with my witness just to make sure that there's no mention of any video or speeding device? Go ahead.
The jury lady.
Bring them up to the table if you want to.
Come here.
Jury lady's like, should I bring them or not? Come here. Get over here. Request a moment with your witness
So
now.
you can't mention the video at all, right? No mention the video whatsoever.
Don't say anything about the video. Okay? We're gonna lose this case if you say video. Don't mention the video. Do you understand? This is what happens in the quiet whispers of the courtroom. Lady, mute the mic. She did. She caught it there at the end. All right, so the video's out, and officer's like, okay, I won't mention the video. And she's more than just an observer, as you can see. She's sort of running the show from the back seat, from the second chair.
Okay,
there was a squeak. These mics are so sensitive. She is just whispering, that's all. Also, to mention audio, the plane, or motorcycles. As a matter of fact, don't talk about your ability to calculate the speed of a vehicle on the ground.
And Mr. Holcomb, resume your redirect.
So when you are operating the plane, there are multiple monitors in the cockpit, correct?
That's correct.
Primarily geared towards the safety of the aircraft, as defense talked about, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
I think you, do you remember like how many?
She coughs. Ask her a question.
How long do you stare at a particular monitor when you're flying a plane?
Well, so when I'm flying, most of the time we're going to be in visual conditions rather than instrument conditions. So most of the time my view is probably 90% out the window for scanning for traffic and about 10% back in the plane.
Okay, so during that 90% out the window, part of what you're doing is looking at what's going on the ground, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. I have no further questions.
Mr. Gasling, is there any recross based on that?
Take your time. Yeah, she uses the cough to get his attention. Do you see how quick his head was on a swivel? He's like, what? What did I do? Oh, okay.
Chairman, I don't believe I asked you or established how high you were flying that night.
How
so
high
I'd like
were
to talk
you?
about that.
Officer, how high
so
were
when
you
you're
that
flying
night?
this plane, you commonly around 2,500 feet in the air?
In that area that we're flying, that is where we like to sit, given the conditions of where cloud bases are and everything, to where I don't go into instrument conditions.
Mm-hmm. So on this night, you were around 2,500 feet, give or take, probably 500 feet. Okay, thank you.
Is that AGL?
Hey, Trooper Sherman,
Or above
thank
sea
you. You
level?
may step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That's important. How long do you stare and how high were you?
Mr. Holcomb, the state's next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, would it be possible for us to take a morning break at this time?
All right.
I need to change
Take about
my
10 minutes.
Depends.
Okay. All right. We'll take about a 10-minute break and we'll resume with the state's next witness.
Okay, so I believe this ends our video, our first video. Let's jump to our second video. Just 1 minute. So give me a minute to get this pulled up. We'll grab the next video. I think that we've got just a couple seconds left. Jury leaves. They take a break. I think they go out and talk to the next witness saying, don't say video. Don't say video.
10 minutes to 11.
And Your Honor, can I ask that Trooper Clark also be admonished not to mention this video?
That's probably goes without saying at this point, Mr. Gaff.
Yes, that's part of what I plan to do with the 10-minute break.
The other part, dibs on the men's room. Okay, so let me bring up video number 2. Just 1 second here. Come on, where are we at? That was Thurston 1. Here's Thurston 2. All right, bring that over so you guys can see it. Just 1 moment here. We'll have it. Okay. And cut. How about that? You guys see it? Is that working? Do we have audio? Yes? Okay. This is a court case. It began with a speed infraction on a motorcycle that was spotted by an airplane, a police airplane that tracks speed on I-5 up in Washington. The defendant on the far right, the young man who's hunched over the table, writing on a Post-it note. He may have been going double the speed limit, which is 70 on the I-5, which means he was around 140. That's fast. He may have also gone through a red light at one point, and he may have been passing inappropriately, weaving back and forth between lanes. That the defense does not argue with. Could have happened. Okay, probably did. What they don't like is that there was, I believe, a reckless driving charge that is attached to it, which is criminal. And this reckless driving charge, he's like, this is absurd. It was just a little speeding, a red light, and you know the improper passing back and forth. And so it should not have risen to this level. My client, he stopped to get gas in his motorcycle and he got tackled off the bike. The bike got knocked over. You're going to hear about that in just a minute. He's like, what? I didn't even know I was being followed. So And who can fault a young motorcyclist like this for wanting to give the throttle a little twist on the straightaway at late at night?
Let's bring the jury in.
Okay. Thank you, Purple Haze, for the super chat. Pickles is great. We call him Kiki now because he doesn't answer to Pickles. He answers to Kiki. Pickles is doing great. I think he has another family as well, though. Jordy, if you type !commands in chat, that should give you most of them. No injury other than possibly on the tackle of the rider off the bike.
And Mr. Holcomb, the state's next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. The state calls Trooper Benjamin Clark to the stand.
Before you sit, raise your right hand, please, and do you swear the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes, I do, Your Honor. Please have a seat. And Mr. Holcomb, whenever you're ready to begin.
Can you please state your name for the record?
Yes, my name is Benjamin Michael Clark.
Okay, and how are you currently employed?
I am currently employed as a state trooper for the Washington State Patrol.
Okay, how long have you been employed?
I've been hired with the State Patrol since September 2019, and I commissioned in September of 2020.
Okay, what are your primary duties as a Washington State Patrol trooper?
My duties, I'm assigned here in Thurston County. I'm currently serving as a DRE, which is a drug recognition expert, standardized field sobriety test instructor, and I'm a field training officer.
Okay. You've briefly gone into this a little bit, but can you give me an idea of what sort of training you went through as a WSP trooper, like how long it was, what it involved?
So our academy is about 9 months. During that time, you go over collision investigations, impaired driving recognition, the testing and training on radar, LiDAR devices, pursuits, collision investigations, and just general investigations within that.
Okay. During your training, did you receive training on how to estimate speed of a moving vehicle?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Could you describe that training for me?
Yes. So we had our classroom portion where we were trained on the Eagle and B3 radar devices, are the two that we use. We went out on this side of State Route 101 outside of Shelton, and we had an instructor there with us, and we had to get certain speed estimates with our instructor using a radar device, and we had to be within a certain miles per hour of that training, or of those estimates, in order for us to get say that we've received and understood the training and we're able to do it.
Okay. Can you describe how the vehicle moves for you to be able to estimate speed? Like, what is it like? How are you facing the vehicle? Like, how is the vehicle moving during that training process?
So we're northbound on State Route 101, and the vehicles are traveling northbound, so they're coming at us as we're off to the right shoulder.
Okay.
So we watch traffic come at us. We do the speed estimate. We give it to the instructor, and they say, yes, that's within the miles per hour, or no, let's do another one and get you to where you need to be.
Okay. So you briefly stated this earlier, but what happens if you're incorrect? So
you just get retraining until you're proficient in being able to do that.
Okay.
Within the academy, they bring people in with no experience at all in law enforcement, and get them to where they need to be able to do the job. So if they're getting people that have never done this before, and they're training them how to do it. So there is times where retraining will have to occur with all aspects of training.
Okay. So were you working on the night of September 22nd in 2023?
Yes.
Where were you working? Like, what city, county were you working in?
So I'm always assigned to Thurston County. The only time I will respond outside of the county is if I'm being requested as a DRE.
Okay.
At which point I will assists Pierce County, Lewis County, Mason County, are the three that I'm available to help, or Grace Harbor.
Okay. While you were on patrol in Thurston County, were you contacted about a motorcycle?
Yes. So on the day that I was working, I was at my our Olympia detachment office, which is off of Tumwater Boulevard, over by the Olympia Airport. We were advised through our radio communications that Smoky 3, our airplane that we have, was following in an erratic vehicle coming south out of Pierce County.
Okay.
And then I signed up for the call just because with Smoky following vehicles, it's easier for us to locate the vehicle as if someone's just following it, or they connect, or multiple people are calling 911. It's harder to get updates on it when it's not through our radio.
Okay. When you encounter, did you in fact encounter a motorcycle that evening?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember approximately what time it was?
I believe the call started at about 10:51, maybe closer to 11.
Okay.
So it's just when I would say from Tumwater to getting up to Martin Way, where I was at, about 8 to 10 minutes roughly.
Okay. So 10:51 p.m. or a.m.?
PM, sorry. 22:51 is when we received the initial request from Smoky.
Yeah. Okay. What state and county were you in? I know that I've asked this before, but what state and county were you in when you first encountered that motorcycle?
Washington State, Thurston County, and then we were in the city limits of Lacey.
Okay. How did you know that this was the same motorcycle that was referred to by Smoky 3?
Smoky 3 was giving us updates, and as I was on Martin Way, he told me it's the motorcycle that's approaching the unit right now.
Okay.
And I visually saw the motorcycle.
Did you see any other motorcycles in the area as this motorcycle is coming towards you?
No.
Okay. What vehicle were you driving that night?
I have a fully marked 2020 Ford Explorer police utility. So it's fully marked with WSP logos and my overhead lights, as well as a push bar.
Okay. So aside from the lights, talked about how the side of the vehicle is marked.
Yes.
And the front, you said, has the...
Yes, I have push bars on the front, as well as like a spotlight on my driver's side A-pillar.
Okay. What color is the vehicle?
It is white, fully white with black lettering.
Okay.
Everything's okay. Thank you, Greeners. I'll take a look at that right now.
So, is there a radar on your vehicle?
Yes, my vehicle is equipped with a B3 radar device.
So, did you use the radar on that vehicle?
No, I did not.
Why did you not use the radar on that vehicle?
Due to Smokey giving us the updates on that, I didn't need to use my radar just because we've already had a. We've already been told that the vehicle is driving.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay, lack of personal knowledge. Sustained.
Well, if I could brief.
Your Honor, I would ask that the court strike any response from the record and instruct the jury to disregard.
I don't think there was a response. Mr. Holcomb, you can go ahead and ask another question.
Okay. So when you first encountered the motorcycle or first spotted the motorcycle, how was it driving in relation to you?
Would you like to describe the area that
was it driving toward you, to the side, like?
So I was traveling
same direction.
My report says I was going westbound. Motorcycle was going eastbound, but it's flipped. I was going eastbound. Motorcycle was going westbound. I was traveling in lane 2 of 2 going eastbound. Motorcycle was in lane 2 of 2 going westbound. Smokey let me know that, hey, that's motorcycle passing unit. As I conducted a U-turn on the vehicle or on the motorcycle, I visually saw it accelerating. My radar wasn't on, so I didn't obtain speed rating, but I could visually see that the motorcycle was accelerating at a much faster rate than I was going.
Just very briefly, how fast were you going?
In that area, it's 40 miles an hour. So I was going 40 down the road as I did my U-turn, as I was trying to get caught back up to the vehicle. It's still accelerating.
U-turn at 40?
Accelerating away from me. I'd say I maybe got up to 60 miles an hour.
Unresponsive.
Overruled. Okay. So, as the vehicle, we talked earlier about how you'd receive training for estimating speeds without the use of radar. As the motorcycle is driving towards you, do you have an estimate, or do you remember an estimate?
I wasn't even estimating at that point, just because of what I've been told prior.
Okay. As the motorcycle was driving away from you, you said you were going about 40, like how fast were you going?
So as I was going eastbound, I was going 40. When I did my U-turn, I accelerated about 60 miles an hour. About a quarter mile down the road from where I did my U-turn, there's the intersection of Desmond Road, there is a stoplight out there. There's a vehicle in the
objection,
right lane.
Non-responsive.
Sustained.
I got that one.
So after you have made the U-turn and the motorcycle is continuing to drive, do you recall how fast you were going as you were following the motorcycle?
Objection asked and answered.
Overruled. Go ahead. You can answer the question.
Yes, right. I was doing roughly about approximately 60 miles an hour as I was approaching the intersection.
Okay. So you were going about 60, and so the motorcycle was outpacing you?
Yes.
Okay.
Objection leading.
Sustained.
Don't
Your Honor, I would ask that the question and response be stricken from the record and that the jury be instructed to disregard.
The jury will disregard that question and the answer.
The judge basically has to do that if he sustained the objection.
What was the, while you were driving 60 miles an hour, what was the...
Spit it out.
Can you describe the motorcycle, like how it was driving in relation to you? Were you closer, further apart, progressively getting further apart, staying the same?
Compound question.
Sustained. That was a compound question.
Let me briefly. She's like, get over here. Mic's off. Now she rips him a new one. But we can't hear this one because the mic's off. Do not do that. Put on your big boy pants and ask the hard questions. I don't know what she's saying right now, but she's emphasizing it by tapping the table.
When are we going to break for lunch, Judge?
I'm not finished with you yet. Is this the same attorney, the same prosecutor, the new one that had the review on the last case? Oh, he's taken many celebratory drinks of water, I think.
So when you conducted a U-turn and you were driving at 60 miles an hour, where was the motorcycle?
The motorcycle is still continuing westbound in lane. At this point, as we approach Desmond, there's a left turn lane. There's like a gore point in the road where you can't drive in, and then there's two straight lanes. So at this point, the motorcycle was in lane 2 of 3, and it was still traveling westbound.
Okay. Where was so as you were driving, where was the motorcycle in relation to where you were?
The motorcycle was in front of me. So it was, we were both traveling westbound, but the motorcycle was ahead of me.
Okay. Do you remember the road that you did the U-turn on and the motorcycle was driving on?
Yes, that is Martin Way. In between the area where I saw the motorcycles between Desmond and Carpenter Road, and it's referred to as the Martin Way dip.
Okay. Are there intersections on that road?
Yes.
Okay. Are there stoplights on that road?
Yes.
Did you see the defendant abide by traffic lights on that road?
No, I did not.
Okay. Did you see the defendant?
Reverse that question. She's like, you asked it wrong. You asked it so that he didn't see. You have to ask, did you see him disobey traffic lights on that road? Right now, all you've established is that the officer did not visually observe the defendant do something.
Okay, so you said that you did not see him abide by the traffic lights on the road, correct?
Yes.
Can you expound on that a little bit?
Yes. So
objection calls for narration.
Overruled.
So as I was traveling westbound, approaching the Desmond intersection, the light was red. There was a vehicle in the right lane that was slowing to a stop, and then the motorcycle continued through the intersection in lane 2 of 3 at a high rate of speed with the light being red.
Ah, yeah,
Okay.
that's running.
Did
red
you
light.
see the red light?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did the motorcycle change its speed at all when going through that intersection?
When I was observing the motorcycle, it was still accelerating away from me, so it was accelerating through the intersection.
Okay. Are you familiar with that intersection?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach the clerk?
Certainly.
Approach the clerk. Oh no, he's got the heavy burden. We like to point fun a little bit. I think the lawyers are the safest ones to point fingers at. They're the one that chose this profession. We are not being mean about it, but it's just funny.
I'm showing defense counsel what's been marked as State's Exhibit 1, 2, and 3.
Mm-hmm. And let's see if they have an issue with any of those.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness, please?
She tells him what to do.
So I'm showing you what has been marked as State's Exhibit 1. Do you know what that is?
Yes.
Okay. What is that?
It's a Google map overlay of Martin Way between the exit at milepost 109 all the way up to Brown Farm Road, or the Nisqually cutoff at exit 114.
Okay. So do you patrol this area often?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Is it an accurate reflection of the layout as you understand it of that area?
Yes.
Okay. The state moves to admit Exhibit 1.
Any objection, Mr. Gasson?
No, Your Honor.
Exhibit 1 will be admitted.
We're showing you what has been marked as State's Exhibit 2. Do you recognize what is on that piece of paper?
Yes, I do.
Okay. What is that?
This picture's going westbound on Martin Way next to the Taco Bell.
Okay.
Martin Way and Desmond, sorry.
Okay. Does that accurately depict your memory of that location?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And is this showed you State's Exhibit 1 earlier? Does this appear to reflect the same area as what's depicted on State's Exhibit 1?
Yes, it does.
Okay. The state moves to admit Exhibit 2 into evidence, right?
Objection, Mr. Gasson?
No objection.
Exhibit 2 will be admitted.
And I'm showing you what has been marked as State's Exhibit 3. But it's on the side. Do you know what that is?
Yes, I do.
Okay. What is that?
This one's going to be the street view version of Google Maps of Martin Way and Desmond Drive going westbound.
Okay. And does it accurately reflect that area of road as you are familiar with it?
Yes, it does.
Okay. The state moves to admit Exhibit 3.
Any objection?
That's the Google Maps. I apologize. They're marked differently. Okay, thank you. No objection.
Number 3 will be admitted.
Okay. Your Honor, the state request to publish Exhibit 1 to the jury. Yes. Thank you, Your Honor.
So now the jury is getting to look at the picture that he's showing the Google map. Lindsay, he was going at least double the speed limit. If that's the speed he was going on the I-5, that would be 140. If that was on the side street, it would have been about, I don't know, maybe 80. Oh yes, this is where the defendant sits in the middle of the courtroom. I forgot about this part. This is from yesterday, Thurston County, Washington. Still waiting on a verdict. I'm not seeing one in yet. I'll keep an eye out on that.
I'll get my head out of the way when I'm make sure everyone can see it.
I hope we get the verdict. It would be awful if we're just left hanging. We have to call the court and figure out what happened. This is the same court, Thurston County, same judge that we had, Mr. Farag. She's pretty quick with that mute button on the mic. He's like, I need help with the technology. He's sitting right there because he has the right to see the evidence that presented against him, and it's being shown on a screen that's sort of in line with him, so he has to move there to get the view. Oh, it's 60 mile per hour on an I-5 in that stretch, 40 on that part of Martin Way, so then it would be 120 and 80. It's a little better than 140. Ricky, see, I'm invested now. Oh, this is a good one. Still no verdict. At least nothing's been loaded yet. He should show his desktop while pulling up the videos and have a big icon labeled video. Not just video, but video of this guy speeding should be the name. I have not heard that the light bar was activated. So the defendant says he had no idea police were behind him. And it's possible. I've heard the rumor that in Washington the police are not allowed to pursue in situations like this. So that could be why there were no lights, because they weren't pursuing yet. They were just trying to catch up. Stringer wants to pay me $35 to go film a flood in a nearby county. Nope. They deliberated for a couple hours yesterday. I think they're about to start deliberating now. I realize they're in Washington, so they're on the West Coast. They're just getting started. Thank you, Paralegal Liz. Good to have you here with us on your day off. M. Young, we'll have to find out for somebody locally. PNW transparency. PNW, you would know. Cops chase everything in that area. What's the law? PNW, for those that don't know, he was in this courtroom, this very courtroom. We watched his case just a couple of weeks ago. So he's familiar with this area and this court. But what's the law in Washington about pursuits? Are officers allowed to, lights and siren pursue a vehicle like a typical police pursuit that you might see, say, in Arkansas? Well, not Arkansas because they pit them all the time, but maybe California or something like that. Steve, I believe the charges here are reckless driving, but there's also speeding, running a red light, and then zipping back and forth, improper lane changes. I think together they group them as reckless driving. That's my understanding. No accident. There was no injuries involved in this one. PNW, I'm sorry. I asked you a question and I realized we're on slow mode. Let me see if I can. Mods, is it all right if I turn down the slow mode a little bit? Oh, we're not on slow mode. We're good. We're good. They took it off. So you can chat to your heart's content. JM, this court is a little open. It's more of a conference room. The seating, I think they set it up initially during the pandemic, and they sort of kept it going, even though all the precautions are not still being followed. He's still trying to figure out the cables, I think. I could fast forward this, but it's painfully.
Adjust so that. Let's see.
I think he's got to figure it out.
Thank you.
Let me know if I'm blocking anyone's view.
Okay. Trooper Clark, would you mind standing over in this area? Because the troopers stand over in this area.
Go right ahead.
Donna, just as a housekeeping matter, I'm not sure the microphones will pick that up.
Let's see.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Defense Attorney, for checking out with us. He's gonna be like, let me move the podium.
Mr. Holcomb, you're gonna have to move that microphone closer to you.
You got to move it. Look how far he moves it. Okay, Mr. Holcom's like, okay, I'll move it. Defense Attorney says, get out of the way. Let me show you how this is done. You pick up the thing and you just drag it. You stand here.
That can be okay for you?
Yes. Is that blocking your view at all?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Defense Counsel. All right, Trooper Clark, do you recognize what's depicted in this?
Yes, I do.
Okay, just for the sake of the jury, can you describe what's depicted in this?
Yeah, so this is going to be the overview on Google Maps between exit 109 to exit 114. And then mark way that travels through Lacey.
Okay. Can you indicate at which intersection you saw the red light?
Yes.
Okay.
So right here, there's the Taco Bell symbol. This road right here is Desmond Road. This is the intersection I saw. Motorcycle with light.
So it's directly below the Taco Bell on there.
I think it's a little bit it's more to the west of it.
Okay. Okay. Your Honor, permission to publish State's Exhibit 2 to the jury?
Yes.
Okay, so the state is removing Exhibit 1 and placing State's Exhibit 2. Okay. So, what can you tell us what this is a picture of?
Yes, so this is a photo of the westbound lanes of Martin Way at the intersection of Desmond, which is right here. The left turn lane, the Gore Point lanes 2 and 1, and then the Taco Bell is located just right here.
Okay, we're in the shopping center.
Yes.
Okay.
I love that the officer
would you
references everything based on where it is next to Taco Bell.
The lighting on that day. How would you describe the lighting on that day in relation to this photo? Does this photo accurately depict the lighting on that day?
No, it does not. So the time of night was 22:51, so it was dark out. There is streetlights on this section of roadway, so there was streetlights on, but it was dark outside.
Okay, so it was darker than this.
Yes.
Okay. Do you are there crosswalks on this intersection?
Yes, there is.
Okay. Do you know what areas those cross? The photo depicts most of it, but do you?
Yes, there's crosswalks going east, west, north, and south. So this it doesn't depict it here. There's a crosswalk here, as well as this side here, and right here.
Okay, so across all four sides of the intersection.
Yes.
Okay. All right, and you said there's a Taco Bell over there, and you said you've patrolled this area frequently?
Yes.
About for how many years have you patrolled this area?
As an uncommissioned cadet, I did patrol rides through there. So from 2019 until current day, I patrol this area.
Okay, so are you generally familiar with the businesses in that area?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know generally what the operating hours are of Taco Bell? Just ballpark.
Objection, Your Honor. Lack of personal knowledge.
Oh, he knows. Oh, he knows.
He can answer. So overrule.
I know Taco Bell stays open late, depending on the locations. Can be open as late as 3 in the morning.
Okay. What other So what time did you say this happened at?
It was roughly 2300, so about 11 o'clock at night.
Okay.
Saw the motorcycle.
Okay. From your personal knowledge of the area, would you know if several of the businesses there are still operational during that time?
Yes.
Were they still operational during that time?
Objection, lack of personal knowledge and relevance.
Relevance?
Your Honor, the relevance is because this is a reckless driving case.
Your Honor, I would ask that this be addressed outside of the hearing of the jury.
Go ahead, answer as to relevance.
Your Honor, because this is a reckless driving case requiring a wanton disregard for the safety of others, the presence of others is relevant, and the operating hours of the businesses nearby invites the presence of others in that area.
I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead.
Okay. So just to reiterate, do you know if the businesses in that area were open during that time frame?
Objection asked and answered.
Hasn't been answered yet. Go ahead.
Yes, they were.
Okay.
Yo, kiddo, Taco Bell.
All right.
Oh, man. The chicken chalupa, what's your take? That was probably the best I heard from this prosecutor so far. The best answer, the best argument.
So, permission, Your Honor, to publish State's Exhibit 3 to the jury?
Yes.
It's already admitted it's evidence, so I don't think
Okay,
it's asked permission.
so this is going to look very familiar, but just for the sake of the record and for the jury, can you tell us what's depicted in this photo?
Yes, so this is east and westbound Martin Way, pointing the west direction at the intersection of Desmond Road from the street view.
Okay, and we mentioned this earlier. When you were driving on this road, how fast were you going?
I was doing approximately 60 miles an hour in lane 2, approaching this intersection as the light was red.
Okay, and the motorcycle in relation to you, just for one last time, the motorcycle in relation to your vehicle as you were driving?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
Okay. Is there anything blocking your view as you are driving through this intersection of adjoining roads?
There's trees in the area, but it's pretty clear line of sight down Martin Way. And I know the only business on the left side of the road.
Objection non-responsive.
Go ahead.
So you were saying on the left side?
Yes, there's a state-owned building on the left. I'm not sure what their business is, but there is a state building on that side.
Okay. In your experience as a patrol officer, are there frequently pedestrians who walk around at night?
Yes.
Okay. Do they often not wear reflective coating?
Objection relevance.
Sustained.
People don't wear reflective coatings. It's a weird question. It was sustained, irrelevant. Let's see if he asks the same question again.
Do the pedestrians walking at night?
Yep.
Wear articles of clothing to make themselves noticeable to vehicles on the road?
Objection relevance speculation.
Sustained.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Last question I have for you.
Last?
In your experience or last line of questioning I have for you, in your experience as a patrol officer, do vehicles often turn on right on red lights at intersections?
Objection relevance.
Sustained.
Okay.
This is the walk of shame. Hit that mute. Hit the mute.
Your Honor, may I briefly talk with my mentor?
Go ahead.
Mentor is mentoring right now. She's also asking if anyone has any Excedrin. All right. Let's see if he gets a couple new questions worked in here. I think the mentors are really, really smart about this, but the way their hand was dealt, it's not their fault. Well, it sort of is because they're the state, and anything the state evidence is produced, it's sort of their fault. The police did not produce this video until Friday. The state didn't get it until Saturday or till Monday, and they immediately turned it over to defense, but it was too late. And so their star piece of evidence, the video of the defendant committing the crimes in question, is thrown out, and they're still trying to piece this thing together here, and it's going to be difficult.
So, did you see a red light at this intersection on the night of September 22nd?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
Okay. Did you see any other vehicles at this intersection?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
Can you tell me in this photograph where the vehicle was at the intersection?
Yes. So as I was traveling in lane 2, there was a vehicle stopped almost identically to where this one was stopped at.
Okay. Where was the defendant's motorcycle in relation to that vehicle?
As I approached the intersection, the motorcycle was pretty much up here, almost out of sight from where I could see it.
Okay. What lane was the motorcycle in relation to the vehicle?
When I last saw the motorcycle, it was in lane 2.
Okay. Okay. And that car is in lane
1.
Okay.
So it'd be lane 1, 2, and then this would be considered lane 3 since it's a turning.
Okay. All right. So if you could return to the witness stand.
We're done using the Google map. Everyone would take your seats, push your chairs back. Oh, they're swapping seats. Look at that. That's creative. Defendant's like, ooh, this one's warm.
Yeah, approach the clerk, Your Honor.
Miss Violet, you're doing a great job with the internet today. Thank you so much. I don't know if it's his first trial, but he definitely is newer at this. Much better, Selena. She's feeling much better.
So going back to the pursuit of the vehicle on Martin Way, do you know roughly when you lost sight of the vehicle?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
I would say as I approached the intersection of Desmond, it was accelerating at a high rate of speed. So it was fairly quick that I lost sight of the motorcycle.
Okay.
And motorcycles at nighttime are already more difficult to see just due to the small brake light, smaller headlights.
Objection non-responsive. So ask that a portion of that response be stricken from the record and that the jury be instructed to disregard.
The jury will disregard the last part of that answer.
Okay. Do you know where the motorcycle went after you lost sight of the vehicle?
Smokey 3 informed me that the motorcycle...
Objection hearsay.
How was that going to be allowed? Where did it go after you didn't see it?
Your Honor, may I offer a brief justification for the question?
Yes, please.
Your Honor, the question is not being asked for the truth of the matter asserted. The question is being asked for the effect on the listener.
Try asking it another way then.
Okay. Okay.
May I phone a friend?
After you lost sight of the vehicle, just very briefly.
Okay, so this happened yesterday. The court is still sort of in session because the jury is deliberating currently right now. I believe they've restarted. So we're going to watch for the jury verdict when it comes back in. But this was yesterday's court. Oh yeah, nothing yet. I was just checked. There's nothing. So this is very current. This was yesterday's events. We just recorded it and are playing it back today. The offense, all the traffic offenses together, the police charged him with reckless driving, which is a criminal offense. So we've got a jury to handle the criminal charge of reckless driving. It's not the jury handling the speeding charges. But very, very good, even though young, a very good defense attorney is really helping his client out here. Public defender, I might add. Public defender. See if you got a better phrasing for that question.
So after you lost sight of the motorcycle, where did you go?
I continued westbound on Martin Way.
Okay. Why did you do that?
There we go.
That was the last known direction of travel for the motorcycle.
Okay. Did you encounter the motorcycle again later in the evening?
Yes, I did.
Okay. How were you able to accomplish that if you lost sight of the vehicle?
Through my dispatch informing me where the current location of the motorcycle was.
Okay. And who was on, what entity was on dispatch?
Smokey 3.
Okay. So you mentioned earlier that motorcycles are harder to see at night. How are motorcycles different from vehicles in this situation?
Objection relevance.
Your Honor, my argument is that if a motorcycle is more difficult to see at night that again goes to the argument of reckless driving, because in relation to other traffic on the evening and their ability to see the vehicle.
I don't know what he was saying there.
Sustain the objection.
Yeah, I think if this guy rides his motorcycle like he's
Where did
accused
you
of doing it here, he's going to
ultimately come into personal contact with the driver of that motorcycle?
At the 76 gas station.
Okay.
Of 7th Avenue and Old Pacific Highway.
Okay. Your Honor, I'm showing the defense states Exhibit 4.
Exhibit 4.
Now I'm showing the witness. Exhibit 5.
Yes. That is a Yamaha motorcycle.
Okay. Does it accurately reflect the motorcycle on the night of the incident?
Yes.
We have a brand.
Does the picture appear to have been altered in any way?
No.
Did you take that photograph?
I did.
Okay. The state moves to admit Exhibit 4 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, number 4 will be admitted.
Your Honor, permission to publish to the jury.
Yamaha R1. It's a fast bike. Isn't that like a FZR or something? Isn't that a Yamaha?
Okay. How were you ultimately able to, did you identify the driver?
Yes, I did.
How were you able to do that?
With his driver's license.
Okay.
Now he's going to try to get that driver's license.
Do you see the driver of that motorcycle in this courtroom?
Yes, I do.
Can you point him out to the jury?
Yes.
Can you describe what he is wearing?
Tan pants, black shoes with white soles, and a black button-up shirt.
Okay. But the record reflects that the witness has identified the defendant.
Wow. Okay.
Did you have other officers assist you in this case?
Yes, I did.
Other officers on the ground assist you in this case?
Yes, I did.
How did they assist you in this case?
In this case, I requested our dispatchers advise Thurston County in case there was another unit in the area. When I came into contact with the rider at the gas station, an unmarked black Explorer came up, which later I knew him as Sergeant Lehman from the Thurston County Sheriff's Office.
Okay. Why did you request assistance in this case?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
Relevance, Mr. Hoffman.
It's important to my case.
Your Honor, I'll waive the question and
withdraw.
What did you do when you personally encountered the driver?
When as I was approaching, I was receiving updates that the motorcycle was at the gas pumps. I parked my vehicle more or less at a 45-degree angle, so I wasn't visible from where the rider was located. My lights were turned off. I had no headlights on or anything like that. Just I wanted the element of surprise. As I came around the gas pumps, the Thurston County Sergeant angled his vehicle in front of the motorcycle, at which point we went to grab the rider. He said, "What's going on?" We informed him he was under arrest. As we were getting him off the bike tipped towards the gas pump, leading us towards the back of it, where the defendant was arrested as he was face down on the ground. Once he was placed in handcuffs, we brought him up from the ground. We removed his helmet for him. I walked him, or I escorted him to the front of my patrol car, where I was able to identify him with his Washington State driver's license.
Okay.
Selena, congratulations on 1 year of sobriety. Thank you so much for being a big part of this channel. Thank you, and thanks for the generous super chat as well.
Did you talk to the defendant at all about his driving?
Before that, I did request a supervisor just because we were on the ground, so I had a supervisor en route. I did inform the defendant of his constitutional rights from, I have a Department of Human Rights card I carry with me.
Objection non-responsive.
Sustained.
Did you speak with the defendant about his driving pattern?
Yes.
Okay. What was his response to your questions?
He stated he did not know I was a cop.
Okay.
Maybe from the lack of lights and siren. Love all the support for Selena.
Very briefly.
Congratulations, Selena. That is awesome. We're so happy to be able to celebrate that with you. Okay, as far as the schedule goes, we have at least 2 more hours of court before a potential verdict, which the verdict has not come in yet. Let me just refresh and see if we've got anything else. No verdict yet. So if you need to run and do something, you'll miss something really cool, but we'll be here for a while before verdict. We'll definitely be after lunch at the soonest. A lot of mentoring going on right here. Judge is allowing it. The judge is aware that we've got a new prosecutor, fairly new defense attorney. Allows a lot of leeway and even gives some coaching at times. Sometimes he makes suggestions as to how they proceed.
So, from
very patient judge.
The time where you encountered the motorcycle on Martin Way to the time where you encountered the driver at the gas station, about approximately how long was that time frame?
From Desmond to exit 114 is about 5.5-ish miles, and then from there to the gas station, maybe another 1.5, 2 miles, so about 8 miles total.
Okay.
Maybe 8 minutes, 10 minutes.
Okay.
In that time frame.
Okay. As you were following the motorcycle throughout the entire period, approximately how fast were you going for the entire time frame?
Varying between 60 to 90 miles an hour. I did not have my lights turned on, so I wasn't having vehicles move over. Just as traffic was flowing, I was able to speed up where I needed to make maneuvers to continue.
Okay. And from the time where you first lost sight of the motorcycle, when was the next time that you saw the motorcycle after you initially spotted it? When was the next time that you saw it?
At that gas pump right there.
Okay. So you didn't see it any time between first encounter to gas station?
No.
Okay. Right. Those are all the questions that I have.
Mr. Gasling, cross-examination?
Yes.
Apparently he was driving faster than the motorcycle was without his lights on in traffic. We could have... Oh, we can still see him. We're good.
Morning, afternoon. I've lost track of time. Hello.
Hello.
So you told us that you've been working with Washington State Patrol as a cadet since 2019.
Yes.
Okay. And then you're obviously a trooper now. So that's been about, can I do math? 4 years?
Yes.
Approximately? Okay. 4 years of experience. And I think you said that your normal patrol area is Martin Way.
It's Thurston County as a whole, so that includes Martin Way is one of the areas within that for us.
Okay. Just gonna return this out there.
This defense attorney is so comfortable in the courtroom, even though he's young. Oftentimes, even when the judge is addressing him directly, you'll see him wandering around talking to the clerk or getting something from the clerk, proceeding with stuff as the judge is making a ruling. It's he's quite comfortable, almost to the point that it appears, it strikes you as disrespectful.
I don't believe so. I think only one.
He's looking for a piece of evidence. I think the officer didn't have his lights on because it would have alerted the motorcycle, and then the motorcycle's gone. They were trying to sneak up on him.
Okay, so your normal patrol, your beat, your normal patrol though is Martin Way.
Well, that's one of the areas in our county. We cover the whole county, so.
You specifically?
I do work that area, yes.
Okay, so you're familiar with that road?
Yep.
Okay. I don't know if I heard you. How many cases have you been involved in? Over the last 4 years?
I don't even have a number off the top of my head.
Not even ballpark?
DUIs, probably close to 100. And then there's been hit and run cases in between and other stuff. So,
so hundreds?
Maybe I'd say hundreds, yeah.
You can't give an exact number though?
Maybe upwards of 250.
Okay.
Depending on the bike
so
model.
We've established you're familiar with Martin Way.
It can go
and there are
plus.
street lights on that road.
Yes.
And when this all happened, it was around 10:50, 11 p.m. at night?
Yes.
Okay. And for the most part, that road is decently lit that time of night.
For the most part, yes.
Except the Martin Way dip.
Road.
There's some lights in there, but it does get dark on the westbound shoulder. I don't think there's much lighting in there at all.
Are you referring to the Martin Way dip area?
Yes.
Okay, and that's where you first saw Mr. Walter?
Yes.
Okay. Is it fair to say the majority of your arrests are for driving offenses?
Yes.
And you were driving an SUV in this case?
Yes.
That's fairly high off the ground.
It's decent size. It's I guess you say like a mid-size SUV.
Okay. Were your headlights on?
Yes.
So I think I heard you say today, well, let me direct you to the intersection of Desmond and Martin Way. I think I heard you say, I have it written down that you said that you saw a car slowing to a stop at that intersection. Later you said that it was stopped.
Well, as I approached the intersection, the vehicle was stopped, but you could see it slowing to a stop as we were approaching the intersection.
We meaning you and Mr. Walter?
Yes.
Okay. And other than that car, you did not note any other vehicle traffic in the area?
Correct.
Bring the jury.
Again, you got involved here around 10:50 at night?
Roughly, yes.
And your involvement began while you were driving in your car?
Correct. Well, initially it came out as the call over or radio, and then I responded to the area for it.
Okay, while you were in your vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. And you were on Martin Way when you were called to respond?
I was at our office when the call initially came out, and then I responded to that area just due to being advised where the vehicle was located.
Okay. I mean, eventually your response took you to Martin Way?
Correct.
So you're driving down Martin Way?
Yes.
It's fair to say that you were observing your surroundings? Okay. And you don't remember seeing any people at that time?
I don't recall seeing any pedestrians.
No pedestrians. Okay. You also did not see that motorcycle get into any near accidents?
I did not. All I saw was the red light.
I just want to make sure that your answer is clear for the record. You didn't see the motorcycle get into any near accidents?
No.
So we've established there was a car slowing to a stop from your perspective.
Yes.
There were no other cars going through that intersection at that time?
No. Not that I can recall.
You did not see the motorcycle make any evasive maneuvers?
Nope.
I think you've established you were heading in the opposite direction of the motorcycle when you first saw it?
Yes.
Okay. And then you did a U-turn?
Correct.
And that was to get behind the vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. Your patrol vehicle is equipped with, we've already established, headlights?
Yes.
Brake lights?
Yep.
Overhead lights?
Yes. And then overhead lights are those, my emergency lights?
Emergency lights. Yep. So they're the ones that are flashing?
Yes.
Okay. What colors do they flash? Is it just white and blue?
Red, white, and then we have a blue setting for like a takedown light in it as well, but they'll also flash.
Okay, so
white.
Something red, white, or blue, or a mixture. Okay.
Yes.
And you turn on those lights to signal that you want to pull someone over?
Correct.
Okay. And in this case, you did your U-turn to get behind the motorcycle. You did not activate your overhead lights.
No, I didn't.
Objection, relevance.
Relevance?
Relevance? It's obvious.
I think this will come out with Mr. Walters' direct testimony as well, but it goes to his mindset at the time and how he responded to circumstances.
Ooh, he's going to testify.
Which mindset?
Defendant's going to testify.
Actually, both parties' mindsets.
Sustained.
Doesn't get to go there.
Your Honor, I would move to strike any response in relation to the lights.
I don't believe there was a response, so.
Okay.
You did not attempt to pull over that motorcycle.
Objection, relevance.
Yes.
I think the nature of the police officer's response to the incident bears on whether what he was observing constitutes reckless driving.
Sustained.
Wow. 2 sustains, 2 wins for the prosecution. The lady's on it.
Your patrol car also has a dashboard camera in it.
Yes.
Objection, relevance.
There it is.
Yes.
I'll withdraw the question.
We can't say video. They can't say video.
Okay.
Okay. He just got hammered on that one. 3 in a row. Big losses for
May I
him.
approach the witness?
Yes.
Not let the record reflect him showing the state plaintiff's exhibit number 2.
Why is it plaintiff's exhibit?
Why is it plaintiff's exhibit? Well, because they numbered it.
You've already reviewed that image.
Yes.
Familiar with it?
Yes.
That's the intersection of Desmond and Martin Way.
Correct.
Okay. I'm just going to take that from you and put it up here on the projector. And actually, I would invite you to come closer as well so you can see.
Whoa, Samantha Terry just gifted 20 memberships. Samantha, thank you. One of our great mods.
So he testified earlier that the other car at this intersection was slowing to a stop at this intersection.
Correct.
And it was in this right lane?
Lane 1, yes.
Lane 1. Oh. So Washington State Patrol numbers lanes
Yes.
from right to left.
Right to left.
So this would be lane 1, lane 2, lane 3?
Yes.
Okay. So you saw the other car slowing to a stop in this lane.
Lane 1.
You saw the motorcycle in this middle lane.
Lane 2, yes.
Lane 2. Okay. Would you agree that light up here, these 2 lights, that corresponds to lane 1 and lane 2?
Yes.
And that in this picture, those lights are yellow?
They are in this picture, yes.
Mm-hmm. And this light corresponds to lane 3?
Yes.
And in this picture, that light is red?
Yep.
Okay.
Look at the lady. Lady just put her head down.
Please have a seat again.
Did she say object? But he was off. He had walked off. Oh, my goodness.
Mr. Gaston?
Yes, sir.
I think at this point we'll take the noon recess for lunch and we'll resume.
Okay. Thank you, Aaron.
All right, so members of the jury, at this point, we're going to take the noon recess so you can get some lunch, so all of us can. I'll have you be back here in the jury deliberation room and ready to resume right where we left off at 1:30. Okay, so you're excused for lunch.
All right, so where we are right now is the jury is filing out. That was lunch yesterday. So that was part 2. The third part of the video is at least 2 hours long. And that will take us through closing statements, I believe. I'm not sure because I set this to record, and it just recorded during the night. And then in the morning when I woke up, I just cut off all the parts that were playing after it was done. So the next segment is about to begin. We're going to take a lunch as well because it's almost noon.
Right in the tag, you can tell they're admitted because I dated and signed except for exhibit number 4. Haven't seen that.
What time, Your Honor?
1:30.
Doesn't matter for us. We can do whatever we want. Huge shout out to Samantha Terry for the very generous gift of memberships. Many people now are green again who are feeling sad and gray.
That's right. My mom said that's what I was.
I said, all right.
Yeah.
Oh, I think so. I'm sorry.
That's right.
No, I said, all right.
I did. I do remember.
I have a
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to take a lunch break. I'm going to run over to these.
Okay.
That was an interesting night for.
Okay, so a little bit of a hot mic.
Bronx's Imperial.
Whoops. There we go. We've got a police chase. Was that Stu's voice that just came through? I think that was Stu. All right, so now let's get rid of this video. We're done with that one. We're going to pull up the next one, which is part 3. I'm going to check again for a verdict just to see if something's come in this morning. I'm not seeing it yet. That's on this computer. Not yet. So no verdict yet. So we're going to take a lunch. I don't know the age of the defendant. I think his last name is Walker. Is that what I heard? We did hear there from the defense that we're going to hear from the defendant. In the defense's portion of the evidentiary portion of the trial, we're going to hear from him on the stand. So he's going to take the stand in his own defense. That'll be very interesting to see how he does under direct and cross-examination. And then let's see. We're not gonna go fast. We're going normal speed on this, but we've got at least 2 hours this afternoon. So we're gonna take a 1 hour lunch, which is it's 12 right now. So we'd come back at 1, and we'll start things up again there, and hopefully we'll have a verdict in this afternoon. So right now it is 11:54 right now. So we're planning on taking a lunch right now. Have an hour lunch for everybody to go get food at Taco Bell or wherever else you want to get your food. We'll be back in 1 hour, 1 p.m. Eastern time. 1 p.m. Eastern time. So he's a walker on a motorcycle. Yes, Tree Rogie. Walker on a motorcycle. Is there a redirect? I didn't have anybody. I can look. Is there somewhere you'd like to go? I like to do a variety of redirects if it's possible, but let's see. Take a quick peek and see who's up. Let's see. Aussie Overlord? I'm not familiar very much with that one. Let's see. Not a lot up that I can see. Do you guys see anything? Do you guys know Aussie Overlord? Does anybody follow that one? I don't see Megan on. I don't see Megan. I don't see Melanie. I don't see Kurt. I don't see Rob. I don't see Ian. All our regulars. I don't see Brandy. Ozzy is great. So let's give Ozzy a try. I have not talked to him before, but We'll go over there. He's got the jingle, all the laughs, 2023. So it sounds like oh no. It's scheduled for 7 a.m. It shows it's live. It shows it's live, but it also says scheduled for today. We'll give it a try. If he's not there, then I apologize. But when you go over there, please just say hi and everything, and be nice and click the like button. Tonight, when you go home, hug the people you love, smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better, and please stay safe till we go live again in 1 hour. Enjoy your lunch, guys. We'll catch you after this. Bye.
Because he's the guy.